Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council meeting this Monday, August the 6th, 2018, at approximately 7:07 p.m. Ms. Terry, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Brown is absent. Lee Johnson.
Here.
Martel.
Here.
Mayor Bell.
Here.
Here.
Thank you. If you would please rise for our prayer and pledge allegiance tonight. Our prayer is brought to us tonight. Ms. Tanya Saylor, she's a chaplain with VFW, followed by our pledge by Chief Stewart.
Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight for our city leaders and the citizens of our community. May your goodness and love be present among us this evening. We pray for vision, guidance, and discernment for what is best for the city of Greenwood as we discuss the items on tonight's agenda. Please bless the gathering. We ask this in your glorious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. This time I would ask the council to look at and approve, if they would, the minutes for the July 2nd, 2018 council meeting.
Y'all have motion to approve this as well. Second.
Have a motion second.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Ms. Terry.
Yes.
Vice Chair. Unanimous.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is recognitions and acknowledgements. We don't have a whole lot to discuss at this time tonight, but I do want to state that I spoke to Dr. Burgess, or actually I spoke to Mrs. Burgess tonight, Ms. Myra Burgess, to call, kind of check on them. Dr. Burgess, if you didn't know, had a stent put in here a couple weeks ago and then had to return to the hospital, kind of an unrelated issue. And then I called today and they said that he had been back to the doctor and was not feeling well at all. So I would ask that you remember Dr. and Mrs. Burgess in your prayers, please. Committee reports tonight. I believe you have most of them in your packets. I know a couple, maybe remember, I know Kenny's here tonight. Start with the South Special County Boys and Girls Club. Kenny, do you want to visit with council at this time? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hope everybody's ready to get back to school because it's coming. Does everybody have a financial or activities that we give to United Way? Every year, Mr. AC asked me to bring that when we discussed a few months ago about renewing our contract.
Kenny, would you mind copying that for me? I'm sorry.
Do you need a copy?
I have
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
And he asked me to bring what we give to United Way. As you can tell, right off the bat, United Way, 47,000. Then it went to 36. Then it went to 33 last year, and now this year it's 27. You know, and what they give out is what they raise, and every year it's coming down. The giving's just not there. So if you have any questions on this, I'll be glad to get this with you. I can tell you, as far as it's not broken down all the way on here, but our payroll is right at $98,000, 107 when you count benefits and all that with it. It's basically the same as what it was 10, 12 years ago. So we try to keep our payroll down as much as we can, and as Doug let you know, when he was out there, the only way to keep payroll down was do more stuff, like on your own, get volunteers and everything. So that's what we got going there. We know, you know, if I had a tattoo, it'd probably say, you know what you need to do, because that's what we hear a lot. We know what we need to do. We know we need to repair fences. We know we need to repair roofs. We know we need to take dynamite and blow up the bathroom. I mean, we know what we need to do. It just takes money, you know. Salisal built a new park. It's a very nice park and everything. Other places has built parks, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs built parks for them. And what we're asking is that the city, you know, even get more behind us. And we, you know, and we appreciate everything you do. You know, I was thinking today when I was going to tell you, and I started thinking when I was talking to Mr. Bill Walters, and he was telling me the whole story back in '73 with him and HB, Senator Rainwater, Doc Burgess all got together and they started the program. And they used to do it at the fair barn over there. And HB used to sell Cokes and bags of chips and candy out of the back of his truck, you know, to help pay the umps and to get everything going. And it's people like that and y'all who has made this city what it is today, which in turn hurts us for grants, especially with the National Boys and Girls Club and the federal government. You know, there's been so many great things that happen out there. Every year I'll have somebody give me a story of, is it Peterson? Peters? Yeah, every year somebody will talk about this man that affected their lives 40-some years ago. Greg Cade told me a story not too long ago. You know, the fire chief, yeah, he's here. His scout project is still up. I mean, it was hardcore built back then, and it's going right now. I always laugh when I see Doug because he always likes to tell the story about him digging ditches during games while the sewage and all that other stuff. There's a lot of people that put a lot of time and effort in there. And we want to keep it going, and we want to improve it. But right now, we're just trying to keep our heads floating. I mean, it is hard. We'll have this after school, we'll have right at 30 foster kids. We'll have basically about 42 kids that are scholarship in, where we feed them when they get there. These kids would have nothing to do if we weren't there. They'd be going home by themselves. I had some parents that came to me and asked to be scholarship in. And they're right there at the cup, and they said, look, if we're not scholarship in, our fourth grader is going to watch our kindergarten and first grader at home. And the fourth grader is responsible. I guess she's going through fifth grade now, so, but she's very responsible to watch a kindergarten and first grader. You know, but that family, that's a decision that they have to make. If we don't scholarship them in, are they going to be able to afford the $60 to come out there? So we serve a big purpose out there. We also, it's just not for members. You go out there right now and all the pit bull teams are out there practicing. The schools, whenever they have functions, they have open house tonight, they close everything down. So they need a place to practice, so they come out there and use our facilities. Once the playoff time comes and it gets dark earlier, then we let them come out there and they use our lights and practice out there. You have softball team out there tonight. We're going to do a little fall ball league to try to give those girls something to do because the boys have one at Fort Smith. It's very hard for us to have one out here because so many kids play football. Once third grade, they go to football, to pitbull. So we're trying to help and form a league for the girls and everything. So, you know, like I said, we'll have cheerleading. The 9th and 10th grade cheerleaders have been using our gym. They used it this weekend as well, excuse me, as the pit bull cheerleaders. We let them use our gym, so they'll come in there. And also people with dogs that come out there because they'll close the gate and let them run. We'll have greyhounds and everything else. So it really is a community organization out there, just not for our members. So when I'm here, and we've greatly appreciated the last 10 years, is we're asking if it's all possible an increase and if necessary an extension on our contract that comes up. I believe it's in December 1. And as soon as we can get that, because we have to fill out everything for United Way, Boys and Girls Club needs their budget, and any grant that we fill out from here on to tell them where we have the money. Right now, we can count on y'all for $4,200 a month. We get about 19, the way United Way does it, we get about $1,900 a month from them. And besides that, we're begging. And it runs roughly, and you can see about 22,000 a month to run that place with utilities and everything. So basically, not counting memberships coming in and activity fees, you know, this last month, we had to find 16,000. So, any questions or, yes, sir?
Your figures again, you said 2017 908 was how much?
I think it was 33, and then we took another hit this year.
You said this year it goes down to 20, 7,000?
And what they do, they pay you first 3-4 months off last year until they send it out, and then they subtract it all. So that's why it's about, actually, I think it's like 9,200 and everything. And United Way, you know, they can only give out what they get. And this year they took a big hit. And that's just a generation, the way they're doing it. And now it's even going to be harder because the way the tax law is right now, your deductions from the nonprofit. You know, you got to have like 10,000 in nonprofit stuff. You know, to get over that 20,000 threshold.
So United Way is continuing to fall short on their own.
Right, and that's what they do for a living, is fundraising. We're out there trying to fundraise, you know.
They still come down, I guess, Kenny, every year and visit with you guys and sit in on it. We all have a meeting with.
Yes, sir. They come in, this last year, we actually put them at midcourt on basketball, and we talked to them, and when they left, we literally, about 8 of us high-fived, going, this is the best meeting in my 14 years that we've ever had. And we got a letter. So, but it's, you know, and I understand a lot, you know, they're probably hacking into their community, they're big donors a lot more also, because us, Louisville, Paris, Alma, we all took a big hit.
United Way, so is it covering just our area, the River Valley?
They have, I believe it's 5 counties that they do in the River Valley, Oklahoma, a little of Oklahoma and everything. And then basically what they do is, you go to a committee and you show them everything you have, your budgets and everything, and they choose where they're going. But if, like Portsmouth Boys and Girls Club has a ton, and they get a good amount, but they got a lot of people requesting that their money goes to them also.
Directly to the.
Directly to them, correct.
If we, so our industry in town, we could have a direct request to go to here.
Right. And the way it works is, let's say they come in and they say, we're gonna give you 25,000 for United Way. And you had 22,000 that was requested for you. Basically, they're gonna go 3,000 more on top of that. It's not gonna be added to the top.
And they do that still, I mean, I think they still do that here in Greenwood. I know the school system, I don't know.
Well, the school system's on number one.
Yeah, the
Provider.
teachers still ask the form every year, whether to go to United Way or, and who it goes to.
Who it goes to.
So it is being pressed in the school system.
They start.
And so it's being pressed.
Yes, sir.
It used to be, I guess, do they invite you to go to those sometimes?
Yes.
You still, okay, 'cause I know when I was out there, I would be invited
Go to different
to go to
businesses.
schools and wherever and say, here's a face to go with where
Right.
you're donating.
I don't know if this is the right time to talk about this, and I certainly don't know the answer to the questions that involved, but I commend you for keep holding the thing together as well as you have. And every time I go out there, I get all amped up, thinking Greenwood, Arkansas should have a better deal than what we got. You know, I've got a son that travels baseball, and we've gone to Salisaw, I think that you mentioned, and some of these towns, and and every time I go, I think, how does Salisaw, Oklahoma have this? And we can't have that in Greenwood, Arkansas. And I don't know how we do it. It's some.
And it's taxed. I mean, there's
We've all got
tax.
to sit down and figure it out.
We're at the top, so.
But I would be real interested in whatever this city can figure out how to do.
Daniel's right, he gets amped up, then he calls me. And no matter what time it is, and that's okay, because he knows that he's kind of preaching to the choir a little bit, because my heart's still out there too, or part of it is. And I told Kenny on behalf of the council not too long ago, or he came to the office, that I think you're right, council meeting's not a great time to do, probably there's so much on the agenda, but I think we need to get together as a council, or you need to get together as a council, we need to study, whatever it is, public meeting, study session, and come up with something. I don't know what the answer is either. Nobody likes new taxes, obviously, but you're right, everywhere you go, everybody's got something, and you guys are getting by with what you got, and have been for years.
Thinking about it ever since I've been on the council,
Yep.
which has been a little while. And the only thing I could ever come up with, visiting other Arkansas communities, I didn't know about Oklahoma communities, is, and it was my intent, a little bit when we started the A&D commission. I just think when the hotel motel first shows up, that you just take that money and you say, this is what it's going for. There's no increase in taxes. Nobody's paying any more than they were before, but then you generated a fund that they can use.
It's cliche, but it's true that you build it and they come. I mean, you go to these baseball tournaments, there's several thousand people at these baseball tournaments all day long, and they all go eat lunch, and they all shop in your community and all that, I've heard the have it on the east side, make them drive through town, out there's a good place, and, I've got my opinions about it, but
It's
what they are.
a little bit like dreaming about a Ferrari. I mean, you don't have any funding.
Yeah.
Without funding, there's not really too much of a reason to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Well, unless we're gonna put it out to people for a vote, and that's the one thing that I wish we could get to a point of doing, that we haven't gotten to yet. Whether you're for it or against it, what's a shame to me is that in the 10 years I've been on council, we still haven't gotten to the point where we've had a special election and said to the people, here's what we're proposing, here's what it's gonna cost, do you want it or do you not want it? And if it gets voted down, that's fine. That's fine. Everybody can have their opinion as to the taxes and what it's going for. I'm not a big proponent of taxes. The local taxes, where you can see where the money's going and you can see what it accomplishes, there's value in that. And there's value in at least giving that opportunity to our citizens
But,
locally to say whether they want to fund that or not.
To Doug's point, I mean, we've got to sit down and come up with something. I mean, we need some idea, some plan. Are we talking about $5 million or $25 million?
And on at least a couple of occasions, we've sat down and come up to that point of having the drawings, having the numbers, and then not taking the next step of
Right, putting it out there.
put it out there. And at some point, you got to jump off that cliff and say, here it is.
If we do a
We've
tax,
done-
that's a one-time deal, and then, I mean, if you built it and they came, does it then pay for itself,
And I think you get into problems because if you build a big old facility, you're gonna have to operate it and manage it, and there's ongoing expenses with that, but, until you build it.
And here's the thing too, and I'm going to point out our newest employee, Nathan Neighbors, who came from that mindset in Hot Springs and has that already, because he and I spoke about a week after he started, and I thought we were just going to end up standing in the hallway for the next 4 hours talking, because he's in that mindset. And I'm not saying Kenny doesn't, you're in the trenches with it now, and you may have the figures and the knowledge that he has too, but we can tap into that, and I want Nathan to be a part of that, because he can tell you in about 5 minutes how much one team produces in revenue. Is that fair to say? I mean, things like, and not that he's the only one, but there's, and you're right, I mean, it is, you build it and they will come, or you hope, and it's got to be something special. You can't go out and just bring some new dirt. I'm not saying you couldn't redo what you have, but you can't just keep putting a Band-Aid on it and expect those. You have big tournaments, and I know that, but the tournaments that are going to draw the teams that will spend the money and then create the need for
He
this
said it a
hotel.
minute ago, and everybody that played a part is doing the best they know how to do. They did the best with what they had to work with.
Yeah.
But it has been cobbled together over the years with a donation here and a load of dirt there. and it wasn't built. You gotta build something and build it right, and then the maintenance of it becomes a different,
Right.
you know.
And right now, everything is just trying to get fixed.
But I was interested to say though, you look at the South Side, or you look at Clarksville, they're right there on I-40, and I imagine there probably is a portion of their A&P tax that goes to it. And they have a lot of revenue from A&P. It's just,
Conway.
Casinos alone.
what's that?
That's the part of the revenue, the taxes off the casinos alone.
No, they're in South Side.
I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, that's all that is to the.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Mike, can we get in the motel business if we done something like this, and we can essentially build a motel? I mean, we're gonna have to have one at the real house.
We can have real property. We have to sit there, have real house.
Nathan, what was the funding source for the park system in Hot Springs?
It was general fund loan, and it was subsidized by A&T if there were, like if we had special projects such as that term, like, so we're gonna bring in 60 teams on these set weekends. So we dedicated 13 weekends out a year and it would pay for itself. That was our business model on basically fiscal impact.
And all capital improvements were all done out of the general fund. There was no,
Or A&T, some GIF when it existed.
and A&P, there was no dedicated sales tax.
We already had like a 11.5%. Goes through, we're over tax down there.
You're pretty high.
They weren't going to the public with a vote, they were tired, so we knew that was out the door, so we just kind of did it with GIF and capital improvement project plan, did a feasibility study, went from there, and that was kind of our approach, and we did our numbers on the weekend.
The A&P tax, that ought to be considerable in Hot Springs. Was it?
Right, but it never came into play. The city and the A&P were two separate things. And we never saw any revenues from that. They just, anytime we needed something, they would they would invest back into it because they knew it was coming right back. So that was kind of the dynamic there. There was no dedicated tax funding in Hot Springs from A&P.
We will certainly could get in the weeds real thick on a subject like this because there's a lot of weeds. And I know too, one thing that, as Dr. Lee pointed out, and we talked about this with the Parks Committee before they were in the commission, Robert is on it, is one, when we threw out there, if you will, with the help of Dustin, that we were considering this complex, you immediately got a good response, and then you also get response from not everybody in Greenwood plays baseball or football, and that's not what they want. So as we go into the weeds, I think it's important to remember that complex, if that's what we're talking about, should be for other people too. You kind of touched on it, you already got people running their dogs out there, and can't get Nathan building a dog park, so I guess this is the best way to do it.
Bring them out there, you can call it in.
Yeah, so,
It's fine,
Anyways, a lot of-
And that's kind of the secondary thing, with the park and everything,
Yeah.
But we would really appreciate maybe if we can get
In
this
the meantime, I'd like to have some
increase. In the
more.
meantime, until we get to that point, we haven't had an increase in 10 years. And again, we appreciate without y'all, we're gonna tell them where to be. And,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you asking Kenny to, and I know because your stuff goes in before our budget is
correct.
done and finished, and I know it's all on that man over there to get our budget done. We're gonna finally do it this year, guys. This is the year. Okay. So you need something to kind of tell,
Well,
I mean, not necessarily a commitment, but at least something to say. I mean, not tonight, but.
No, not tonight, no. I just wanted to bring this up, and maybe if anybody had any questions, and
Okay.
maybe I can get.
I think you're seeing a lot of support, and we believe you need what you need. So, Council, you got anything else? Kenny, I know we barely got started.
No, I just came in late, but I didn't know if are there any 2017 numbers by any chance?
No, it's the next one.
Okay.
Did you name him the chairman of the next tournament out there before you got here?
Yeah.
That's
I
what
was
you.
talking about Daniel, Daniel was out there that last
Yeah.
tournament. And even though we were over there on that side, those people still came into Greenwood, because I'm here, hey, this place is not open, Bosnia, not, and everything, so, I think they locked it here. It was a good tournament. So, I do appreciate y'all, all the kids appreciate y'all, and if y'all have any questions, please call me. And thank y'all.
Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate what you do. SRCA, I don't think anybody's here from tonight, but I believe you have a written report. No? Okay, there I go, thank you. If you have any questions about this RCA, let us know, and we'll try to get some answers. Tammy, one of us will. Lisa, Parks Commission, written report, I think from Mr. Neighbor, yes. Okay, there he is. If you got anything further from him or Ms. Bell? Nope. Water Wastewater Commission, Mr. Rattery was here, there he is.
Council, Mayor. I did provide a report, but I think last month, I was not here last month, and there were some questions that came out concerning, water rights and service area. So I want to make sure that if there are any questions that we need to address at this time, we can do that. I will tell you that Mr. Bailey did get a signature from the mayor. He is working with James Ford on trying to get them to accept a proposal for us to purchase water rights from that 180 acres that are just north of Tinsburg, east of 71 there, AKA Bird property. So
I'm going to pass that letter that you're referring down.
Yeah, that's
I meant to
fine.
make a copy, and I forgot about it.
it covers more than just that property. It actually comes east and north of Tinsburg to cover that service area that belongs to James Ford. So that's going on. I'm also working with Mr. Handy on cost recovery ordinance, very similar to what we did for tractor supply, but we got tractor supply too late. So we're going to get this one out there before we ever have any discussions, so that we have some way to recover and recoup some of those fees. So I'm working with Mr. Handy on that. I'm also working with him on an agreement between us and James Ford that would allow us to push water lines through their territory, because we have city limits that are ours, but serviced by James Ford. And we need their permission to be able to put fire protection, specifically the Highway 71 commercial corridor, all belongs to James Ford. And most of that is, at least on the east side, is within the city limits. So I can't go start pushing lines down 71 without a contract with him. You know, the approach that we're taking on this is we're only interested in pushing fire protection. We're not trying to steal your revenue for water consumption. We just want the fire protection to be able to service it for commercial businesses. We can later have discussions as needed about what particular properties or areas need to be purchased for water rights. Water rights are very expensive, and when you're only flushing a toilet, you know, there's no return on investment for the water commission, and that's what it's all about. So, but at the same time, if we can get a tax-based service revenue source there, then we don't mind putting the investment in to be able to get that tax revenue back at a reasonable price, but it has to be reasonable. So that's what Mr. Bailey's working on, is what is reasonable, and he's done some analysis on that and shot them a number based on a similar number that was used to calculate Fort Smith's endeavor with James Ford, and then subtracted some depreciation for stuff they had in grant. So very complicated piece of paper. You can look at it and read through. Maybe a little slanted, but you have to understand the person that wrote it. That's all I'll say about that. So we're making some progress there. We're also finalized phase 1 of the sewer model, infiltration monitoring, which was basically putting devices in the ground to check inflow that's coming in during rain. And phase 1 of that is done. We're looking for results to come back to us, hopefully in the third quarter, maybe the first fourth quarter. And then we'll start taking action for those issues. But that's something that Greg does on a weekly basis now. He goes in where they can, they scope a line, and if there's an area they have to address, they go ahead and try to get it addressed, and he's done several of those over the last couple of years. So but this will give us a more holistic picture. So I'll open it up for any questions that you have concerning the water rights, because I think that was the question that came up last month.
My first question is, I'm glad that Mr. Bailey and everybody is going to get ahead of the game at this time as far as the cost recovery ordinance and such. I just was wondering if y'all have got anybody from some sort of annexation committee on board. It'd be nice to have that man at the city while we're trying to get water rights.
Well, we have been working with Sonny to try to figure out where his boundaries, so to speak, that he's been working with. So I think we're on touch with that. We've been having several discussions with the mayor at Burton property. We have an ordinance in place that will not let us push a water line over to those properties unless they've been annexed. So that particular property in question, the Burton property, is going to be something we really need to go ahead and push for annexation, because I can't spend a single dime on putting a water line or a sewer line over there until that's annexed. But we are working with Mr. Bale on the coming south down the Highway 71 corridor. We're going to stay on the east side for now. We ran some preliminaries numbers with engineering and for water and sewer. He had us on the west side, which turned out not to be a good financial decision for us, so we moved it back to the east side. The west side, we were in excess of $3 million when you look at water and sewer together, just to go from Tinsburg to Denver. Coming back to the east side, putting in the water, putting in a little bit of sewer. We already have some sewer down the east side. We think we can reduce that by a third, and we also think we do it in phases. But that's what the Water Commission is kind of analyzing now. It'll take us a couple of months to kind of go through that, analyze it, come up with a solution, but that will be the first direction we head. But the cost recovery ordinance has to be in place, and the contract with Jamesport has to be in place before we can do anything there. And then before we do anything with the corner property on Tinsburg 71, Mr. Burton needs to petition to him.
And I heard he was all going to go to annex 3 years ago.
Been hearing that for 3 years.
I visited with him again. He caught me out here in the parking lot one day, and I don't know if he's gotten to Mr. Hamby's office or not, but that was the plan. I think Jacob had not, I don't know who led him to believe that we were going to take care of his annexation for him. I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but I told him that's not what we do. We're ready for you to come in if you're ready. And he said he was. I think he's still a little confused as to what the process is. Has he contacted you?
That's fine, because I have offered over the years that I've been city attorney, is if you want to annex in, I'll prep the legal work for you for free, don't take my time. You just have to pay for the filing fee and the cost of publication. I'll give you the recipe for how to do it.
I'll almost send him to your office if that's, I may come with him to your office if that's.
Well,
okay.
I'm sure if he's serious about it, we can get it done.
Yeah, it just seems,
It's not gonna take us 3 more years.
No.
Recipe book, easy enough, we can do that in the administration.
Probably not.
You're talking about me, aren't you?
I'm talking. You no squirt.
So as it relates to that property, we have a water line across the street at the Jamesport, or sitting in that Tractor Supply. We're ready to push that to him, or he can come get it, one of the two, after he annexes. And we have a sewer manhole already there on this side of the road. So he's just got to step up to the plate. Any questions?
Different subject. Don't get mad at me.
No problems.
I think, I'm very proud of the Water and Sewer Commission. I think they've done an excellent job. Y'all done an excellent job. But I think financially we're better than we've ever been. Infrastructure-wise, we're better than we've ever been. It was a struggle when I come on the council, we were wanting to we were having to redo the treatment plant. And when that 1% dedicated sales tax got passed, that was there to, let's fix this thing. And I wish in the commission, would have a conversation. I know there's commitments to infrastructure that you use for debt. I would like for y'all to eventually get to the point where you say, look, we realize we're the only revenue producing entity in in Greenwood. I mean, we don't want the police to be revenue producing, we don't want fire to be revenue producing, parks, all these other things, they're not revenue producing, but y'all are. You can operate in the black, you can work your structure, your financial structure to operate in the black. I would like for you to at some point come back and say, look, what the citizens give us is a dedicated 1% sales tax. We would like for y'all to consider going ahead and repurposing that, asking the citizens to repurpose that, and try to fix some of your streets, some of this other stuff we struggle with. Kind of like, our youth activities. I mean, we're struggling providing youth activities. There's just only so much tax that the citizens will handle. I mean, we're there. I just don't think that they would, give us another percent to work on streets. I don't think they'd give us another 0.5% to try to work on youth activities. I really wish y'all have a conversation and at some point say, let's get off of it and let's be good citizens and be good stewards and go back to council and say, we're off of it. Now's the time, go back and ask the citizens to repurpose it, hopefully to streets.
Well, I think some of that conversation's already been had. I think if you were to look at our budgets, and you're more than welcome to come to a commission meeting, and we can talk about this in more detail. But when you look at our budgets, our operating expense, we're just meeting our operating expense. We're using that sales tax to do infrastructure upgrades on a consistent basis. And I don't know the exact number, and I'm not going to put him on the spot, but I do know that for 2018, we have pretty much spent every dime, or have allocated to spend every dime that we brought in for that tax. So it's not that it's not being spent, it's being spent for infrastructure upgrades. So if you take it away, so goes the infrastructure upgrade.
I'm just asking y'all to kind of keep this mindset going along, because there are other needs that we need. And y'all are doing, and I'm only
Council
asking.
has every right to do
I'm
whatever
only
it wants
asking you
to
this
do.
because y'all are doing a great job. Y'all are just doing a great job, and it just, if y'all could slowly start weaning yourself off of it, and using infrastructure, work that into the, the cost and services that you're able to recoup. And then let us repurpose it to some of these other needs that we're struggling with. Ask the citizens, we have to ask the citizens.
I like the thought that you have, Rod. I think it makes sense. I think the tax that we wouldn't be near where we are without it. I mean, you guys have used the money in the right way. And so that would be an interesting conversation, I mean, I don't think Rod's asking that you quit using that tax by the end of the year, but, that would be, where are we with infrastructure upgrades? How close are we to being where we need to be? Do you ever get where you need to be?
Well, you probably never get where you need to be, but we produced a project list at one point in time that went out for, I think it was 5 years and $16 million, so, I mean, there you go.
Well, you've got this report that Greenwood's going to be 25,000 people. If that be so, James Fork or us need one out of water. Or, so, but that's an interesting,
I'm just saying, this is not something I'm thinking that you could do in a year or something, but that's the thing goes along, saying, maybe we could get off of it 5 years or 10 years and then go back and let them ask citizens to repurpose it, because we do generate revenue in sewer and water. We can operate in the black, whereas we don't generate any revenue for streets, and we're so woefully behind the streets. The streets take such a long time to fix, and so much money, and we just don't have a revenue source to do what we need to do. Y'all are doing a great job.
Appreciate that.
25-year water plan.
Keep it up.
Any other questions?
That's what happens when you do a great job.
I'll take that under advisement. Go back to the commission discussion. I probably know what their answer will be.
You not have any cookies with that or
It
anything?
would probably behoove you to come to a commission meeting and have that discussion.
Well, kill me.
That's what I said.
Well, I think what he's saying, though, too, it seems like that's what we do. I mean, we had this, you know, it was dedicated one time to the streets, I think, and then we moved it over because it seemed like there was more urgent need to, you know, water and sewer, you know, and we needed a treatment plant.
Well, there was a tax solely for water before it was split between the three years ago.
Is that right?
And it wouldn't have been done.
Well,
They were so woefully behind that you would have never.
Well, it was,
Right, absolutely.
you know, it's kind of a sneaky underhanded deal.
I would agree.
So when we went to the citizens and asked them to fix the water treatment plant, oh, by the way, at the very end, in the small fine print, this makes the tax permanent. That was a very sneaky underhanded deal.
I wasn't on
Who was on the,
I blame it on Daniel, I was there, but I blame it on Daniel.
Well,
I was
You
just,
can pull the minutes of what I said.
that we have allocated to spend $106,000 more than we have coming in tax revenue. That's eating into our fund as well as our operating expense.
and I agree with that, and I certainly don't want us to ever get really caught behind that we're facing, you know, the issues that Fort Smith are dealing with. And so I certainly want us to keep ahead, but I'm just thinking that, in the back of your mind, just kind of slowly through the way that you can, just kind of, you know, lean sort of, whether it's a 10-year projection or whatever. Of course, what can happen in 10 years too, with our revenue sources.
and on the other hand, what you, as a commission, agreed, the council, of course, gave permission to extend that water line out to 71. I mean,
That wasn't factored in, so that's just left.
there's
We
your,
just killed that.
there's your huge build it and they will come. And I agree with what they're saying to an extent, for sure, because everybody needs more money. And I would even say that it's a sewer, I mean, every time, just make a public comment, I guess, if you will, when we talk about new businesses coming into Greenwood or calling Sonny and I back there to see what's available to them, we always kind of hit a brick wall a little bit of, well, we're love to have you here and we'll welcome you with open arms and we'll do a chamber of commerce for everybody, but by the way, we don't have water and sewer out there for you. So that's a tough place to be in a rock and hard place, literally, when you're talking about economic development. But so there's a lot to it. I mean, there's a whole lot to it. And if you don't have a street to get out there, it doesn't do them any good either. I mean, we have an industrial park in this town and there's nothing out there. Well, sorry for those that are there, but we don't have infrastructure out there. So it's hard balancing that, to say the least.
Back to the comments AC made about the water and sewer, you know, it really wasn't water and sewer, it's lack of planning and holding builders and developers to the line. And that's what's so important about planning, that got Fort Smith where it's at. If Fort Smith would have had very good planning in place and held people's feet to the fire, this would not have developed over the last 50 years. And now water and sewer, that's what you're hearing, water and sewer paying for it. It really wasn't water and sewer, it was the lack of planning and proper planning that got them into that mess. So that's where I get upset. You know, it seems like in the city, things kind of done, and somebody's gonna have to deal with this. You know, at some point. Yes, we may be gone as dead, but somebody will eventually have to deal with it, and it will be very, very expensive. And that's what Fort Smith's struggling with. It's very, very expensive when you start tearing up roads, peeling up roads, and buying houses and tearing them down and putting in drainage. But planning as that place was growing would stop that. They're doing a good job of planning now.
Any other questions of me?
Don't start pawning stuff.
Well, you know,
Y'all are doing a good job of planning.
Put in my plug, we've got two excellent directors that squeak when they walk.
Yeah.
And
One
those
of them,
guys,
you can't even sit down and stand up.
those guys are very sensitive to spending money in their budgets. And so that's always good to have.
You'll have a new city lake on your out
on future plans?
And what?
A new city lake on your future plan?
No. That's not cost effective. We're buying water from James.
Buying water is cost effective?
Oh, yes, it is. Absolutely.
You can't afford to do it.
500,000 gallons a day. Cheaper than I'm making.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. We are at the citizen forum portion of our agenda, and we have one gentleman has signed up this evening. If you'd like to step forward, sir, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dan Wagman. I live at 141 Norwood. You've seen a lot of me in the last few months. 3 months ago, I was here asking for you to look at the city blasting ordinance that hasn't been updated since 2000. And at that time, you asked Mr. Hamby and Rod to get together on that and come up with some suggestions. A little later, you're going to hear from Mr. Hamby that he thinks it's fine the way it is. That there are state and federal regulations that trump what we would do locally, and therefore we can rely on them and not have to update locally. As a local person who's in the crosshairs of a planned construction project, I'm less comfortable with federal and state protections when I think that you guys have the authority to place some restrictions on existing state law, for instance, state expectations. And I have some examples. Rod spent a lot of time recently drafting the guidance for private club licenses and what it takes and where you can have your business situated with respect to churches or daycares or schools or whatever. It's not a state law. I've been to Knights of Columbus fundraisers where they serve alcohol and it's on a church property. So clearly that doesn't apply everywhere. Also been to state universities where I've supported scholarship work and what have you. We're in the president's house. I've served in Belvedere in a fundraising capacity. There are
It's not a
exceptions.
private club,
Pardon me?
but it's not a private club.
It's not a private club, but it is alcohol being served
And probably
within a
legal in
housing
Wake County and probably perfectly legal.
well, dry county actually, with kind of, I mean, communities dry.
There might not been legal,
Might not be legal.
but the president of UCA had done a lot of things that were illegal.
Yeah.
And that's why he ended up going to prison.
Sometimes. Again, that being said, Knights of Columbus, the same apply to them. I mean, they do fundraisers too, and they sure do it on their property. That, you guys have, I'm not saying don't pass ordinances. If you see it in the city's best interest, I think it's a good thing to do. That's what your job is. You protect us. In the instance of this development, we're talking about the Overlook development and the water tank that's going in up on behind Overlook. I just learned from Sunny that the latest attempt to get that approved by the health department has failed. So while the Jones folks were out there bulldozing a week ago to put the tank up, that's not been approved. It's been kicked back to the health department, so we have a little bit more time. That being said, please don't leave us relying on an 18-year-old ordinance locally that provides for a $50 fee to get a permit and a $50 permit violation penalty. I mean, Lance and I talked about this a few months ago. For a $300 check, an unscrupulous developer could pay for a month and a half worth of violations. And it doesn't cost me anything. I mean, I'll pay $150 if you do an ordinance update that puts some teeth in the existing ordinance that we have. But right now, and you'll hear this in my opinions report a little later, because we talked about it a couple times, most recently just before this meeting. He's going to recommend that you leave the ordinance as is. The ordinance as is prohibits blasting within 500 feet of structures or residences. My house is about 250 feet from the tank site. Evan Rao, who's my next door neighbor, is less than 200 feet. There it is. So, under the existing ordinance that we have right now, they can't blast unless you guys grant a waiver. So please don't, okay? Mike wants to wait until somebody sues. I don't want to be the one to do that. We've been working on this for a year to try and get protections in place for those of us who already have significant investments in our homes and our properties that surround this landfill. So again, the ordinance that we have, while Mike sees it as adequate until it's not, because we have state and federal protections. As a local resident, again, in the crosshairs of a planned construction, I don't want to rely on state or feds if I can get my local council please. So, it's my place. Okay, questions?
I'm just wondering, who's developing this land? Do we know the people's name or person?
The Jones family.
Like Jerry Jones?
No, what's his first name?
Michael.
Michael is,
The Remax guy?
yeah, well, the
This is
Remax guy's son. I
I have to assume they know we talk about this every month, and I wonder why they don't show up and defend or.
They were actually here last month, but they didn't come forward, but they were here. They've been here a few times.
I just would like to know if we're gonna last or not. I understand we need to probably get the ordinances up to date, and I sure like charging more money this month.
Tim, they don't know right now if they're gonna have to blast.
Right, they're not approved yet for the most part.
You know, they did some when Maple Ridge was built, they had some blasting going there, but nobody knew anything, you know, it just didn't create trouble. And, you know, that's what I keep telling them, once they get up there and they realize what they have there, this might be a non-issue, I don't know. But right now, they don't know whether or not they're gonna have to. You know, Bell Park, for instance, we put electrical lines all around that thing and never blasted an inch. They use, you know, the diggers, and so possibly that's another avenue that they might look at. But like I said, it's kind of in limbo right now.
Y'all have a problem, I went ahead and took up number 2, so we're going to run there. It's good.
Go ahead.
Good.
Thank
you, sir.
Mr. Johnson, before the meeting, and told him what my research revealed, and I passed out information that I had received from Lanny Richmond back in April, after initially being asked to research this. And in addition to what he provided me here, I talked to him on the phone for probably about 45 minutes. And it was his position, as it is mine, that the ordinance we even have in place right now may technically be usurped, so to speak, or overridden by state and federal guidelines. When the state and federal government speak and say, we're regulating this, and in order to get a permit, you have to be within so many feet, and if you don't comply with our regulations, then you get a fine of X amount of dollars, and so forth. We cannot legislate once they have spoke on that. He mentioned ABC, or the adult beverages, and unfortunately the ABC has up that in our laps and said we can regulate on this. Not only can you, but you must do it before we do anything. That's the difference between those two. Here are the federal guidelines. If they're going to blast, they have to get a federal permit. They also have to get a state permit. The ordinance we have in place now, I like and don't want to remove it because they have to get a city permit as well. So they have to come in and at least let us know that this is what their plan is. And then we can say, well, show us your state permit, your federal permit, make sure you're compliant with that. We can get a hold of those officials and we can see make sure they're compliant. The permit cost, you get into an issue of, that's really just to offset the paperwork that you do with the minimal. So you can't charge a $10,000 permit application fee, because that would be considered tax, and we would lose that one immediately. Secondly, increasing the fine. They already have fines in the state and federal law, so the fine that we actually have in place, if push came to shove, probably lose trying to collect on that. They said we're not, and we can pay that. And as a matter of fact, I actually went back to 2000. I found my notes whenever I drafted this, and I had some memory of it, that I received a call after we passed it from the attorney for Stevens Production at the time, and he pointed out to me that Our ordinance is very similar to Fort Smith, which was adopted in 1976 by them. And that in his opinion, that probably was not worth the paper it's written on because the federal and state regulations overtook it, but they weren't having any activity in Greenwood at that point, so he wasn't going to rock the boat. But he did let me know that if they chose to do some blasting in Greenwood, they were not going to honor this and that they would see us in court. That's what I was explaining to Mr. Gladwin is that I don't want to change the ordinance unless somebody comes in that contests the legality of the ordinance and says, hey, you don't have the power to do this. I'm not saying that I don't want to change the ordinance until something happens so that we can protect our citizens. That's not what I'm saying. I would love to pass laws that restrict these because I don't want to blast them on my house either. Unfortunately, we don't have the legal power to do that, and that's what I'm trying to say. I did express to him that I think Sonny does a very good job. He's usually on top of that. Sonny has my cell phone number. He knows where I live. And if they're out there, they're going to blast. If people come and get me, I will show up on site, and I will immediately contact the state and federal folks to make sure that they comply. I've been over to Chief Dawson and have him call some of my staff out there that will hold it up for a while until we confirm that. But other than that, that's about all I can do. I don't recommend repealing it. Before the meeting tonight, I received a call from Jared Canfield on other city business, asking me to fill in on some enforcement stuff that was going on. And during that discussion, he reviewed the city's ordinance, which I indicated was passed in 1976. It pretty much goes in line with what we have here, except ours is more up to date. We refer to the 1995 code. Theirs refers to something that was passed in the 70s. And the insurance requirements and the fines were less than what ours were. And he basically said that that issue had never came up in Fort Smith, but that he would be of the same opinion that I was and that Laney was that probably what they have there is likely not enforceable. So that's why my recommendation would be to just leave it as is.
Why did we pass this ordinance in 2000? Was it
I think it was, they were,
that neighborhood?
We're just trying to get revenue for blasting permits?
if I recall correctly, there was some development out at Meadows Ridge by Middle Park out there. We were concerned about some of the blasting that was possibly going to go on out there when they were building up on the side of the hillside there below Bell Park.
Well, that guy was going to build that neighborhood and put a water tank in up there. There was a big brouhaha about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was in 2000.
I don't think that was then. I think that was after that. That's what I recall it being was in the Meadowbrook development area down there. That's what I recall specifically. The Stevens representative called it.
But also about the same time, Maple Ridge was being built too, so it could have been one or the other.
Yeah. For some reason, the Bell Park sticks in my mind, and that's what I know it had some reference to it whenever I talked to the attorney from Stevens. It had been built, but there were some houses that were being developed more up on the hillside up there by where.
Stonebridge, yeah, Stonebridge area.
So Mike, what I'm getting out of that is you're saying that we can't make our rules and regs different than what the federal or state is.
But there's actually no reason for us to regulate anything because the federal and state has already regulated that area. But I like what we have on the record because it does give us notice and make them come here to get a permit, even though it may technically not be enforceable. At least we've got something to hang our hat on to make sure that there's some compliance there. And I do think that the planning department and the city needs to know if there's going to be that type of activity anyway. $50 permit fee is a drop in the bucket.
Because we would not know otherwise, right?
That's correct.
This ordinance, in fact, they could show up with their state and federal permit and just.
But we come out there and say, what are you doing? And show us the state and federal permit, it's like to get out of here.
It seems to me like they also use explosives in the forest hills for
So that's gonna have, somebody's gonna have to keep tabs on that, basically is what that amounts to.
Yeah, I'm asking so you can keep tabs on that.
Because, I mean, we wouldn't know any other way that somebody was gonna be blasting unless they.
Yeah, and like I said, if they want to, if they're blasting close to somebody's house, but then, I forget what the foot is, then they would have to come to, they would have to come to the council and say, here's why we need to blast. But, you know, I understand this is not an explosion like you see on.
Right.
It's a ground explosion, and all it does is break up the rocks. It's just a boom like that.
I guess what I'm trying to make sure we've got covered is that somebody don't go around you, they're not going to do the proper chain down here, and puts by, we don't know nothing about it. That, I guess that's, I mean, so
Well,
it's gonna be.
And if we find out that happens, first thing we do is put stop work order on it. And if you hold up a project like that, you know, you're costing them, you know, thousands of dollars a day in some cases. And so, you know, it would behoove them not to cross that line.
So it'll be pretty much your job to let them know we've got a blasting ordinance. And
Yeah, they already know it. I mean, these folks do, I'll put it that way. And if any other subdivision came in, you know, that was building in a hard rock area, that would be something we'd discuss with them too, so.
I do the non-plan. One thing I can see in this deal, we have on the record is over in section 5, article 3 there, notification of initial blasting must be given 24 hours in advance by the individual in charge of blasting to the chief of police of Greenwood, Arkansas. I think we need to add somebody else on there, I'm not sure we will.
Yeah, I don't know that they have to give us any notice technically, so, I mean, I can modify that, what you're doing there is kind of like a pimple, and just call attention to it. So I suggest that we just leave it as is.
So ultimately, what you're saying is,
Because state law requires, you told me previously, how many days, 30 days advance notice?
Actually, I gave you federal regulations, that's in that packet that Charlotte shared with you. Federal regulations are pretty good on that. There's a pretty good notice, it goes out to a quarter of a mile, they do pre-blast surveys. If they follow federal regulations, again, even though that's not part of the city ordinance, if they follow that, then we'll get notice. And we'll
The
know
same
what
as
the ground vibration
the
is.
state requires more notice than what we have as well.
I just-
So we're covered by both of those, and, you know, we don't always catch everything that happens here that people are supposed to come and tell us about. I think somebody comes to see me next week about somebody that's built an outbuilding that doesn't comply with our regulations, we find out about it after the fact. So those things are gonna happen, we just have to deal with them. But I don't mean to cut you off.
I mean, you said this, but again, I mean, if you guys would put in your ordinance a line that says you'll comply with state and federal regulations, just say that. That at least lets them know that you know what the expectations are and you're gonna hold their feet to the fire. That way, at least we have something for us to talk about. So right now, I don't have anything to talk about with you guys, because Mike says that I have to go to Bozeman, or I have to go to Walmart, or I don't know where I have to go. But it's not gonna be you guys apparently, because you don't have a say in what happens in my backyard. And that doesn't seem like it.
So, Mike, if we added something just on section 5, that first line that says surface blasting shall only be allowed provided all state and federal rules, regulations, and ordinance are adhered to. That doesn't seem like we're. You think we're stirring a pot that doesn't need to be stirred?
That's already what the law is, whether our ordinance says it or not, and we do say in here in section 1, that all blasting operations shall adhere to the applicable regulations of the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, which enforces that.
well, I was about to say, I mean, state law, or state and federal law both as they exist, as has already been said, trump, whatever we put on this.
Are we allowed to add to charge for a
Regardless of
blasting
what we
permit?
said.
Is that a permitted thing, or is that a questionable thing too?
I think you have, as long as you don't gouge, you charge a realistic charge for the permit fee, because I think that's a reasonable regulation to deal with the planning and so forth. I think that would withstand some scrutiny. You're going to charge a $2,000 fee, you know, is that reasonable for not. I think we probably moved that. So I think the biggest guy is so I would recommend changing that. And like I said, on the fines, they already have the fine set for violation with the federal and state permits, so we can say $1 million in there. All they have to do is comply with whatever the federal and state guidelines said, it doesn't matter what we say. Same thing on the insurance coverage.
I'm thinking that the permit thing, we don't want to be too high, 'cause I mean, I know I've heard there's some people that had to use dynamite to something to pool in their yard. You know, they had to, set charges just to get the hole up.
Have we had anybody when they did that, Tony, come in and actually apply for a permit?
Like I said, most of those subdivisions were before my time, but I believe in Maple Ridge, Forest Hills, they did.
Okay. I just don't recall the issue other than when we passed this ordinance, and I do remember the.
We had the guys flying around with the helicopters doing seismic testing, remember that?
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
Cuthbert got all upset about it.
Yeah.
That might have had something to do with this, too.
Before we put that language in there, I will add it, but I don't think it's necessary, but I will do it.
Yeah, we got a rock quarry right in town.
Mike, I believe that in Maple Ridge, well, when Deer Run first started, back in the day, that they had to do some charging up there to check for the boring beetle. But I don't know if that's how they did it. They would set charges and then they would go, set the little crap out and the little beagles would run into it or whatever.
I do remember that.
No beetles, but they did have the charges set up there.
Well, I agree with, I'm sure hate to think somebody's blowing up anything down with us, so we have to do this. The state law says we gotta come notify the local city yahoos, and hopefully it says that. But if not, we need, like I said, we need to.
I will bring an ordinance with that language in there next month. I will have that language on. I will also modify the notice time to 30 days in advance.
Yeah, right now it's 24 hours, isn't it?
Yes, 30 days in advance and to notify the
Hey, Mike, if we're gonna mess with this,
Pardon me?
if we're gonna mess with this ordinance, it seems like it talks a lot about quarries and quarry operations and such as that,
That is,
which kind of goes back to Laney
yeah, that's what my
letter.
says.
Most of this has to do with that kind of thing. I would, if we're gonna modify the ordinance and make it public, I would wanna make it clear that
Applies to all.
that applies to any kind of blasting at all. Residential development, water lines, swimming pools, whatever you're doing. I don't know what that gets you into, but based on Lanny's comments here,
But I just told you
It's on
that,
section 2 and 3, down there, surface blasting.
I don't want somebody to walk in here and say, hey, I'm not running a rock quarry. Right? Just so we're feel comfortable about being covered on that.
but I noticed there what it says, you cannot prohibit a rock quarry. You can kind of regulate it, which I think that's what the state and federal laws regulate, but necessarily you can't prohibit one if one decides to.
Those were cases that were adopted or determined prior to the enactment of the Arkansas Quarry Open Pit Mines Blasting Act, Blasting Control Act of 1995. So that legislation wasn't in place when they were interpreting the law. And I thought Gary Canfield was around back in 1964, but he says he wasn't. Okay, I'll make those modifications and have that for you next month.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Lattimore. Okay, moving on in our agenda, number three. One, sorry. Thank you. Resolution for limit pickup. Where in your packet? Okay, this is, we had this on the agenda last month, talked about it a little bit. We discussed it some in the department head meeting this morning. Dennis, our interim street director, about it. We have a policy. Any question? Did you add the comment on the bottom?
Not yet,
Okay.
but you can.
Okay. I think one of the things that came up in the department heads meeting this morning was to add a comment that if you do not comply, basically in a nutshell, if you don't comply with this policy, then your limbs will not be picked up at all. Because still, if they're not, I mean, there's a reason for this. One, to make it quicker, easier, and it makes sense to do it. If people aren't complying, I guess we'll leave it there until they do. Kind of try to get them to take care of the tough deal.
Well, that, I guess, brings up the issue is what if they don't comply, they just leave it there and leave it there, whatever, it gets down to the culverts and stuff.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about, and we basically talked about who's going to come out and police that, and then what do we do about it. We didn't come to a total agreement, I guess, or we didn't disagree, we just didn't know for sure, but obviously I think code enforcement would be the next step.
I don't know, take it on, whatever you are. I mean, we got an ordinance that says we're not picking up that.
Right.
We do have an ordinance that says that looks like trash, you get it out of the site. Or it's a ticket.
I like that again, where like I said, yeah, we issue a citation, they don't, do the citation, then they go before the judge. I'm with that way.
I mean, it's tough, I mean, I'd rather, right, and we talked about this, obviously.
I just have a thought, can you put a statement in that if it doesn't comply, the city will pick it up and they bill you for it? I mean, that's what you do now with non-compliant landowners on
We do,
on the ground.
it doesn't work well, but it can, yeah.
Well, I just keep it on course, slow down a little bit.
Well, and to be honest with you though, because of the other ones not working that well, because one, you probably won't get your money ever, and, but two, and then so we go and talk to, and I know this was about other issues, dogs and things like that, we the judge, as I stated, I think last month or the month before, that he said, get them to court, that's the best way to fix it. And you're right, it's a slow process, but in the meantime, we're in the ditch, we're clogging up drainage issues for Dennis. We did bring, or Dennis has brought, you guys, I think somebody on council last week asked about the bags. Dennis has done some homework today and went to Yeager's and Tractor Supply
These are from Yeager's.
Okay.
There's a bundle of 25 for $9.99 down there. We could use these, they can go mine, I'd rather not handle them myself.
Yeah, Dennis and I agree that that's not a great, I'm not sure we want any good business of getting
Are we gonna buy our bag, take me?
the bag dispensers.
Yeah, we just
Scales.
send them down to the local Jaegers. We just, that bag's dimension, that's kind of the municipal standard now.
Right.
That's what.
It's hard to show more than 35 pounds in it too. That's how they make it.
So why can't we put the dimensions of that bag in our policy and say that the bag has to be compostable?
It's the same
They'll
size
figure it out.
bag that Tractor Supply comes in.
They'll figure it out, they can go down to Tractor
I don't
Supply.
even think you have to,
I mean, is it the same size bags they can get at co-op or wherever you can
Well,
throw
pretty
it?
standard.
Walmart.
So what is the dimensions
Same
on
size
that?
bags, but they're less expensive than the
What do they call that? Compost bag?
It's a biodegradable bag.
So what are the
The thing
dimensions?
we got here says bags only.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change that.
So what's the dimensions on the bag?
I'm not sure.
Tom, would you see if you could stand in that and kind of give us?
Great way to put it.
I think so.
She's throw it actually disappeared.
Right, if we can hold it at that dimension, so we don't have to really worry about the weight.
Right. But I don't think they make it any bigger than this. You just say biodegradable paper bag, that's the biggest one you're gonna get. If somebody go out and find a big one, more power to them. We have to specify the dimensions.
If we do this, we're going to prevent ourselves from getting in trouble like Fort Smith. Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality went out and all that plastic bags were shredded up in all their
I think we gotta indicate.
Went there this
They're
Saturday.
not even taking it.
They do not. That's the first thing they grill you on. Do you have any plastic bags in your brush? And I said, no, and they said, okay, go there. If you do, then you have, it's totally, you rip them apart. You will not leave the bags.
So we have to make that clear in this policy somewhere
biodegradable
Third
bags.
bullet point,
before we pass this resolution.
third bullet point.
Everything's
Fourth,
got
I
that.
got third.
What do you got? Take it.
You're gonna do all these things.
So basically, just third bullet point bags only can be biodegradable bags only.
Must be biodegradable bags only.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that today.
Thirty by 16.
35.
35.
Exactly. Well, I asked.
I'll let the trash
So changing the verbiage on bullet number 3 to say, leave grass clipping head streams will not be collected in trash cans or
Must be in
and must be in biodegradable bags. And we don't, I'm assuming no one is interested in pushing us being the biodegradable bag dispensary? Okay, good. Thank you.
And then we were gonna add,
Oh,
if not properly stacked or does not comply to these specs, the yard waste will not be picked up, very long, big hole.
sound good.
You will get a visit from the code enforcement.
You want to say that? Well, that's not fair.
So that was something that's
It's in the code.
Should we have the code enforcement?
unsightly
Well,
yard.
that's what it is. It's not actually code, so it's kind of hard.
We have unsightly yard in code.
Uh,
We have unsightly yards in our code.
True. Well,
It may be subject to.
we can't use that terminology anymore, am I correct?
Whatever terminology is in our code, we have in there about having garbage and trash, sticks, rocks, and cars in your front yard.
Which means this.
It's
Well, how
code.
about, and may be subject to code enforcement?
There you go, subject to it. Shall.
Can we add basketball goals to this? You think of?
Out of the street. I think we do have to look at something.
Schools got that section.
Well, I'm almost like there to say a citation from the code enforcement, just give that neighborhood that we're going to start issuing. I mean, if they, we just use a fine or whatever, I think that's a big deal. Or you can apply for
Yeah, they don't need it.
most part, it says already, I just want to say citation. Or fine, or, you know.
Everybody in the world's like, I think it was my thing, I'm fun yet? No, I'm just saying. On Facebook, some people ain't gonna take time, I'm not, for one, I'm not gonna take time to put what you're doing. An hour, better, you know what I'm saying? So, am I gonna have the opportunity to, if I do it on my own? I go back and check it out every day, because they take that.
So you mean what the city does?
If I've got a trailer load of stuff, and I bring my place up, instead of them picking it up.
He's shaking his head no, what's your?
Why?
The agreement was that we would do it all. We would not send anybody else out there.
Is it because of where it is that our issue?
Yes, that was.
I'm kind of asking the same
So
question.
maybe we need to allow that street over there so we can make a second entrance.
Well, we talked about that.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I'm not functioning this is because
I'm just saying, I mean,
it's on the same property as our sewer treatment, we have to have kind of be restricted access to that. Unless
We
we
can't come in, I don't know, is Greg here?
I mean, I'm not saying coming in by the deal,
Right.
we've got that other road that goes right in the road, no.
Yeah. No, we don't have it.
We need to assess that whole situation.
Like, yeah.
Because if we can legally have it, if I got to legally have it, I don't care how much trash or it's stacked up there, how long it blocks, it's the car blocking the road.
Actually, that's been removed by our county enforcement officer.
Well,
I'm just curious, it's a legitimate question.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking if we don't have that site man, somebody could come in there with.
Yeah, you'd have to, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You'd have to get permission to do it, I'm not saying do it on your own, you have to go through to get permission to do it. I would have to, you know, if you, any of us had a trailer, would have to get permission.
Yeah,
Don't you consider that same thing?
Or you could go to Fort Sill and drop it off.
Yeah, you can just start a fire, one of the.
no, I'm saying, if you allow people just to be there, like a dump. You'd have to regress. I think a couple of things go with it. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're asking. One, either somebody's gonna have to take you out there and meet you there too, because one, you're not, you won't, but somebody else will not just take their limbs and take their trailer.
That's it.
It'll be turned down.
Right.
Unless it's, same thing, same issue that we've had in the past with the recycling center.
The reason I brought it up, someone cleared it up, somebody's gonna ask.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Do we not have room to put it over here in this recycling field? I mean, like as a stage
The
place?
volume is.
No, it's, you get back there when they travel through there with their, no, there's not much room.
Well, I mean, like, what I'm asking is like,
Talking
you
about,
make a pile and then they move the pile.
well, that's the question he can answer.
They move the pile out to the city's thing out there and all that. On certain dates, you can bring your limbs right here, and we're gonna pick them up with a backhoe, and stick them on our trailer.
Have free use. If I understand,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's free.
That's for we have.
One without somebody police, which I suppose the recycling person could police it, but no one ever is gonna pile it where it's supposed to be piled.
You get other labels around that and stuff.
No, somebody will ask us.
No,
I think it's working generally okay. I mean, it's other than just taking an awful lot of time. We talked about that today too, looking at time because it's a financial thing. And it's and as you all know, the council probably is aware that we are trying to be careful with how we do this with the street department to begin with. So it may be in the very near future that we're looking at a whole, if we want to continue service, which I'm in favor of, but we will have to be looking at either a different department addressing it or a public works type situation and not just street, because it's not street related.
Unless you roll it in the drain.
Right, and the drainage, yeah, which was a good point that was brought in. A good conversation today, department head meeting, drainage, you know, obviously, and Stuart made a very good point a couple months ago. He didn't do it very often, but he did. Thank you very much. Is that it helps with fire protection and all these lands that are cut and piled and done in the correct manner. But it also affects drainage bigly. Sorry. So it's a big deal. Yeah.
So I agree with your policy here, adding that biodegradable.
Okay.
But off the subject a little bit, when all that stuff ends up out there, what happens to it? All burn?
Hey, Rod, you know that big pile that we get called to about 5 times a year?
That's the spot.
That's the pile. When everybody complains about the smoke, but, it just gets bigger, right?
So the smoke seems to kind of lay in there, and then Grinnell and the next street, little old ladies call and say something's on fire. And we all 3 o'clock in the morning, we're all out there.
Make a motion to adopt this resolution with changes mentioned.
Second. Motion and second to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry? It's unanimous.
And
Can I clarify?
we don't have to do it all. If anybody wants to complain, whine, bellyache, we ain't gotta do it all. It's just, wherever you said help, you just said.
Okay. Can I clarify the changes, please, that everybody understands fairly basic? To add, must be dyed with biodegradable bags only to that third bullet point on items the city will not accept. And also, the bill bold at the bottom will be not properly stacked or does not comply with these specs, yard waste will not be picked up and may be subject to code enforcement. That's it.
I would like to still say sanitation.
Code enforcement violations. Okay.
Work, Brown.
Is that a violation, I would that imply a citation?
Yes,
Absolutely.
it's violated, yes.
Okay. Yes, okay.
Thanks.
People's on side of my trash, and they'll drive away
May I ask a question about that? Because I'm gonna feel those calls
There you go.
when this happens.
Is that fine print?
Is there any way we might consider doing a mailer of some sort that goes to every household in the city limits?
With this
Yeah, with that right there with it.
policy?
Well, because he's gonna put it in the paper, it's gonna be on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But there'll be 500 people call that says, well, I don't get the paper, I don't have Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Is there any way we can do a mailer?
Absolutely, sure.
No,
Stick it there with Greg. Try all that.
that's good, if they don't all have limited space in the water bill.
Yeah, we need the whole.
I can just-
Yeah, door hanger.
Do we need a resolution to do that? How much is that gonna cost? We can do a mill.
Well, I would almost like to do a
3,000 households.
resolution / ordinance of the month, and do that once a month, just send everybody a random, pick an ordinance that people don't know about, don't put everybody just write this for city newsletter.
I will say it costs thousands of dollars just to do one mass mailing.
Well, we could
Yeah,
put
it's
fees,
expensive.
fun,
Yeah, so
It is.
so you don't want to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Is this headline stuff? That's all. Let's kill some more trees.
You'd had it over.
Well, maybe.
Mayor screwed over. The Arkansas flag over.
Yeah, that's not.
City
really-
council would come over there now. If he'd have held,
Okay.
the flag would have been held, the city council member. You've been all.
I believe we are at 3, fire, bill, so we're gonna do business, next bill, replace fireworks ordinance. Number 11-13.
We have any agenda issues about that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I just marked it off. You know what I did, because we have no agenda additions.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
That is news. Thank you.
One word last minute, make sure everybody had theirs and mine.
I do have a couple of things I want to add, but they're not, I'm just kidding. Okay, yes, thank you.
Domino addresses.
Tom, if you want to.
Fireworks?
Pointing at you
Fireworks?
for some reason.
Fireworks are?
Oh,
This is fireworks.
Resolution. Yeah.
This is you,
actually,
chief.
this was Charles.
Oh, okay.
I was, well, I highlighted the changes that were made because there was so much confusion over
Is
this.
this the new one?
Yes. It used to say the 12 a.m. thing, just said 12 p.m. or something. It didn't make any sense. Everybody was confused.
Tell them the real.
And And also it said in her opinion, and Stuart didn't like that for some
Stuart
reason,
took offense.
because it was referring to the fire chief. So, but it's last. Okay, so also, there's one part in section 4, because it said this ordinance shall not apply to the city of Greenwood, who may from time to time sponsor their own fireworks. Felt like city of Greenwood was too broad, and I'm not the city attorney at all, never mind, but is there a better word than municipal complex there, that would be more specific about city of Greenwood? Who that is?
Municipal complex is this building.
That makes it sound.
Do you want to say municipal government?
I just say city Greenwood.
City of
Did say City of
Greenwood
Greenwood.
sponsored events.
That's, so we'll change that. City of Greenwood.
That's why they brought me here. That's it.
And, but it says,
Thank goodness.
it says who may from time to time also suggest that for you.
Has it always been $500? Oh, I thought it was $250. Good.
That, for the permit system.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Good.
That's it.
Make a motion for this ordinance on for first reading by title only.
Second.
First and second. Motion carried.
Brown,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
McDaniel.
Yes.
Tim
Yes.
Terry. Unanimous. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 11-13, authorizing the sale and shooting of fireworks within the city limits of the city of Greenwood, establishing penalties for violations of said ordinance and further purpose.
Hey, comment, Charlie,
Pardon?
you come down section 2, drop down 3 lines between and $500, just lose space.
Oh, yeah, got it.
Good catch. Item number 4.
Well, do we want to pass this under
Oh,
emergency?
did we?
Or you want to get
Is it on there?
3 different months?
Non-emergency.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 4, ordinance adopting an interlocal agreement for mental health catchment area.
Where is the agreement?
We should have it, did we not?
And we emailed,
We
Charlie
emailed.
emailed it to you, right?
It was emailed because it's a whole lot of paper. Tammy's got a copy.
What the agreement is basically, when you get down to nuts and bolts of it, Charlotte first contacted me about this, I asked her how much does it cost us? And she told me that she couldn't tell by looking at it, that's kind of what was up there. So I asked her to forward it to me, and I reviewed it. I can't give you an exact number, it's very broad and vague. I can tell you that you're going to have costs involved in training your officers that I have no idea what they're going to run because the officers have to be trained in order to put their folks there. There's going to be a floating cost which will be determined by the committee that oversees it basically. They're going to use a bunch of the 1.6 billion annual funding from the state. Then they're going to build insurance, Medicaid, whatever is not covered. Then they're going to distribute the balance of that amongst the cities and counties that participate. So it's going to be a floating number. There's not going to be a static number. It will change from year to year. The treatment cost per day is estimated at $350 per patient. And any unreimbursed amount will be averaged among all patients. So if we have one patient in there and everybody else has 50 patients, we don't just pay for the one patient. We have to bear the cost of everybody there. We also have to defray maintenance and operation cost of the facility itself, which the county is going to pay for, but they are going to require a $5 a day charge in addition to what I just told you about for any individuals which we deliver there to offset the upkeep cost. The county will send you an itemized bill, a 10th day of each month. It talks about payments commencing May 1st, 2018. That's already been gone. The only way you can get out of the agreement is to show just cause why the county has breached the agreement. In other words, you can't just all of a sudden say, this is costing us too much money, we don't want to mess with it, you're stuck with it. Now, if you don't participate in this agreement, then you can't have your patient, your customer, so it's there. And I've been doing this for 30 years. Is anybody here from the police department? Reggie? Okay. How many of those would you say we get a year? Maybe 3 or 4 that are, usually from the nursing home, you'll have somebody that is mentally ill that's got into a fight or something down there, and they really don't need to be in the jail, and they maybe be in a facility like that, but it's not something that frequently happens, so it doesn't occur here. Would you say 3 or 4 a year?
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
That's what I see coming through the court system anyway, so.
Well, I got what you just said, they can get really expensive.
Did y'all read it? I mean, I read it, and it is, the cost.
All I heard was sign the check.
Well, that's the thing that made me the most anxious was the cost seems ill-defined, and it doesn't seem to be specific necessarily to our community. I mean, there's no doubt this is a good idea. These crisis centers were much needed, something the community needs more of. It's going to be maybe overwhelmed real quick by the amount of people that need this kind of service, but it does make me anxious to just sign what seems like a blank check, without knowing better. I mean, our budget's already so high, I mean, my thought is, are we the first community that this has gone before?
No, everybody's been, I'm sorry.
None of the other cities that I represent, but they're smaller in nature, like Hackett, Central City, and Bonanza, have been approached with this issue. So I don't know whether they're just hitting the larger cities like Greenwood.
It said there was going to be every city.
It says Mena, Walden, Bogle, Parish, Charles, Ozark, Woolbury, Alma, Van Buren, Greenwood, Levack, Barley, Fort Smith. One of the towns represented signed here by the mayor.
Okay.
So summarizing it, does it give a formula or
That's what I was
cities are
trying
going
to
to pay a
say.
specific amount based on the
It just
population?
says equitable amount, which is a legal term, which means,
Well, they may think our share and Fort Smith's share are the same
Yeah.
thing.
right.
Kind of like,
But I
you
like
know,
the fact that, like Mike said, if we do take somebody there and they've got 50 patients, we're having to share the cost of somebody else's problem.
See, I've been to 2 of these meetings, and I think, Richard, did you go to one? I know Chief didn't make the last one. You haven't been to even one? Okay, so I've been to a couple of meetings, and this is Judge Hudson's baby. I think it's a good way to put it, and I think he would be okay with that. The center is open, it's in use. I was completely caught off guard when you said that we would share the cost. I was under the impression, just from the talks and the discussions that we've had at these meetings, and all of those cities were represented for the most part, either with the chief of police, or a mayor, or a judge from that city or from that county that I've been to. I was under the impression we only paid whatever amount it is from people that we take. Now, that's sadly mistaken if I am.
I'll read the language. It says the cost per day for services for serving each patient will be determined by actual operation expenses and will serve as the basis for cost sharing among the 6 counties and each municipal government utilizing this facility. That's each patient. That doesn't mean just one more. And then it says that the objective of the counties and cities' cost sharing is to equitably allocate the unreimbursed cost to each governmental entity using the facility for treatment services after consideration of grant funding and allowable insurance reimbursement.
Because, well, if it wasn't that case where you'd spread it, we just say, Richie, take them up there to the Fort Smith line.
Yeah. Well, so my bet on that, and I'll tell you, the first thing I'm gonna do tomorrow morning is call Judge Hutton and ask him, because we've had a couple of meetings, like I said, and I really didn't get that at all, because I came back even told, I don't know who all I told, Tammy for sure, that this is only our cost for our guests, if you will. Number 2 is, we found it interesting, we, the people in the audience, Judge Hudson, that he would be giving a document to us, for us to kind of sign off with that floating number. I think it's $5 is what it says.
There is a $5, that's in addition.
Yeah, in addition to, so he made it clear in his his explanation that one, as you said, the insurance should pay. What the insurance doesn't pay, the grant should pay. So I sat beside Mayor Baxter from Mulberry while I was there, and we both kind of, he had his figures out, and the numbers that we had in front of us, and according to even that document, there was like a $70,000 shortfall, if you will, of, okay, where's that going to come from? Especially when you talk about $350 per patient. And Mayor Baxter asked that question of the judge, and he said, that's why that $5 is that's what the term he used, but a floating number, and he said, we could have just as well put $1. Well, most of us in the room were thinking, well, you could have just as well put $200 too, if you don't know. He did make this statement, and whether it's any comfort to you or not, he said, and I believe him, because I've been in the presence of Judge Hudson before, when he's talking about financing, he's usually fairly tight and making sure that the money's spent correctly, is that if it ever costs more than what he expected, the county would be out of it. So, and again, that's pretty binding, sounds like, I'm just saying you're not. But, so, my job with this was to bring it back to you for this discussion, and I told a couple of people that the council will want to know what the actual cost is, because it's pretty vague. It doesn't give you a whole lot of
So I'm going to read the portion of it on termination. It says that if there's you want to get out of it, then you first talk to the county judge and attempt to resolve the problem to ensure continuation of the program. If you're unable to resolve the problem, the individual city can exercise its right to terminate the agreement for a material breach of this agreement. So you have to show that.
I think that part's crazy.
Yeah.
I think your discussion with him, I think that, just me, I want to be able to opt out at any moment.
Well, let me suggest this. I think if I could get the judge or a representative to come and do a better job than I'm doing, because I'm not doing good at all, because I'm already confused with what it says. But let me clarify one thing real quick, though. I think as far as the cost of the training, we already have some officers trained, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have made that step. Some frustration with the project itself is through what the judge explained is there was training going on in other parts of the state, but they didn't have the facilities, which was odd, and I mean, it's kind of been almost a haphazard thing. Okay, they're training up in Northwest Arkansas, but they don't have facilities down here, but we have a few, if not several officers already been through the training. And Fort Smith now has a facility that they're doing that. So, and I think it's pretty minimal. I don't know what the training is, but anyway, there was still a lot of questions. I can tell you that as I brought this back down here for you to look at, it wasn't completely clear to me, as you can tell. And I don't think a lot of people in the room did.
The training the officers have, how expensive was it?
It's free.
It's free. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's any.
But we're not the only county in the state that has one of those facilities.
There's only 3
Right.
or 4 to be opened that the governor has. And by the way, this is
This is a governor.
big governor deal, and it is, by the way, I do want to go on record saying this is, as you said, this is, in my opinion, very necessary and can keep a lot of people out of jail that do not need to be in jail, because if they're off their meds or whatever the case is, they can't spend more than 2 nights, I believe, in this facility. So if that's something to think about later, as price is an issue, that's what it's for, isn't that right, Richie? Just two nights to get them cleaned up, get them back on their meds, and put them back in a working environment.
It's not what the agreement says. So the agreement says that he's able to stay as long as their medical provider says so.
See, that's different from what.
And I would also remind you.
So that's an issue.
Well, I think, I would at least like to know the formula, because I'm thinking, I mean, Fort Smith, with 80,000 or whatever, us with 10,000, I think it should be somehow a formula saying based on your current census, that's your portion of it that you.
Well, I felt pretty good that it was just gonna be people we picked up in Greenwood. I mean, that's all.
Well,
The other
it's a
concern,
terrible analogy.
the other concern that I have is that this is a grant. A huge portion of it being paid for a grant.
Right.
And the grant will go away just like the GI money did.
Yeah.
Then we're stuck, the grant's not going to be covered. We could have a huge.
I wonder if if this ordinance that you're looking at, Mike, is the same with the other counties that have this same facility, I wonder.
They don't
Their
have,
ordinance
they're
is-
not open yet, right?
No, they're not open.
So
Fort
it's-
Worth's the only one's open.
Are we,
Fort Smith's the only one open.
I thought there was
Unless
another
they just
one.
opened one,
I thought there was another one
they
open.
may have just opened.
I don't, you don't think
I would
so?
presume that
I haven't
somebody
heard of
came up with
those.
this.
They were getting, they should have already had two, but at the time
I
of
thought-
this meeting, they didn't.
Okay.
So we have the other cities that are mentioned, and they come before there.
That's,
So,
They're
can I
doing it
can I make
all.
a suggestion? Because, I mean,
I didn't expect to get it passed, I just brought
Well,
it to you.
well, the spirit of this
Right.
is something that I think we as a community support. And I would hate for us to come across as not supporting the idea that this crisis center is good. I think it's reasonable to have fair questions. What I would suggest is, that, you know, there's an emergency clause on this. Let's put the ordinance on first reading by title only. And then that'll give us, that'll give some time for people to come back and give us more information and answer more questions. And come back a month from now and revisit.
From the meetings you've gone to, Mayor, I mean, is it contemplated that they're going to, I mean, is this the agreement, we're sticking with our agreement, we feel good about it, or is this a work in progress in their mind?
Yes and no.
I mean, it's,
Once
I was
it
trying to
does-
say a minute ago, it's a terrible analogy, but it's the same problem we got into with the dog situation.
I think
The price went up, your price went up, I can't hold them all. I mean, there's just so many things that are open-ended about it.
Yeah, I don't have to answer.
Mayor, I think, my personal.
I didn't let you answer that.
That's okay.
The judge needs to come in and explain.
Well, that's what I was
Well,
suggesting.
I just have a feeling that this, you know, I don't know what the schedule is for these other city meetings. Ours is the first Monday of the month.
They mean-
So somebody may have met last month, but I have a feeling that we're the first council to address it and ask those questions. And other people are gonna have questions. So I would make the motion to put this ordinance on the first reading by title only.
Second. Have a motion second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
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 Oh,
But as suggested by Councilman Terry, would you entertain the judge if he took it back and get him to come down and better explain and question and answer time? Okay. And I would assure you, I
I mean,
didn't, I didn't,
I'm not against it.
No,
It's too open-ended.
no, I didn't poll
I just want
every,
it tabled until we know what we're
yeah,
talking
I didn't poll everybody in the room. It just happened to be sitting by Mayor that I'm a friend of, and there was a couple other guys that kind of had the same opinion that this seems a little, as you said, open-ended, we didn't know for sure. And I think the judge knows that that's going to be the case until some questions are answered, so I'll make a call.
You think somebody would have done maybe a study or something of what it cost analysis? You know
Well, I
what I'm
think they did. That's
Well,
why they
that's in
estimate,
there.
they make an estimation
where
of
it's
what they think
350
it's
is
gonna
at.
cost.
saying? But,
That's if everybody's insured,
Right.
you know,
In a
spaces.
perfect world.
you know how that is.
Yeah, I do.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 5, bypass update. I just wanted to make you aware of, we are continuing to work on the idea of the bypass, the Greenwood bypass. We're calling it that. Department of Transportation is calling it officially. In June, I think I've shared this with you already in June of, June the 6th, this is your meeting, senior minute order, or senior minute order from the Arkansas Highway Commission. work agreement with the department to construct a bypass. And whereas completion of an environmental study that will identify preferred and alternative cost of the facility should part of the discussion with the city. Now therefore, the director of authorized to proceed with an environmental study for the bypass. So it's just one little baby step. Again, you have to do it. They basically told us when we first went down to see what this was done, that we get our money today, federal money. They've already done we're into it, huh? Right, right. So.
You're not talking about the traffic study.
Well, what this does is add to, the way they told me, and I asked them to do their police study in their school, not summer. And again, we're pushing not just the traffic issue, I think that's important that study. We were almost like Mr. Redder in this thing, money. They told us that we're not having an accident. The whole process. It's rolling. I just want to give you an update on that.
I'll tell you my opinion. I'm still 50-50 on bypass. I'm a Denver Street guy. I don't know.
I was all about that myself. This is on there.
Yeah, well, I just think it's cheaper. Would it be another way to get out here and fix it?
Property over here, and I agree. I'm still, that on the shelf, and we got that. They allow us to put out, it's on the shelf, property owner. Basically, said, no. Streets across. The good news about that, even though we would be a true bypass, we know what was in our but it's all good. The other thing that's positive is the fact who's always that's true. He not unofficially said that project was City Street, not a state highway. Where were you guys when I tried to get this last week?
We have, that Denver Street is a bypass. I live on that side of town. I live on Webster, and I'll tell my kids, I say, watch, the traffic, we backed up all the way to Webster Street. There'll be something like 150 cars up to Yeager's. And I said, we'll turn around in the parking lot at the eye clinic, drive back to Denver, and I said, now count cars. And I said, I counted 2. And we'll be right up to where Yeager's is, and skip 150 cars. Denver is a very quick alternative.
By the way, Denver.
Don't tell everybody that.
Yeah, that's, you can't worry about that.
Yeah, really, that's our secret.
I use that bypass all the time, around 5 o'clock.
Hey, Mayor, you really give us a copy of that study last month?
Of the bypass stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Of the binded, bound, we don't have it, but we'll make it bound to them. We'll make some copies. Okay. I don't know. Promise it won't move on. Since you mentioned Denver, just to touch on it, Denver, you remember that we are still in line for a $250,000 overlay through state aid for that road. Not a widening, I won't give anybody. Which road? Denver.
Yeah.
From 71, or I'm sorry, Pittsburgh to 71. That's about, I called them just a month ago to say, hey, because Mr. Wiley not being here anymore, I knew he was kind of in contact, I wanted to touch base and say, hey, we've got a new guy in town, but I want to make sure that we're not missing out on something, and he assured me that I don't need to call him anymore. It's kind of like the governor. He said, you're in line, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of the money coming in.
Overlay is great. But if you widen it, raise the speed limit to 10 miles an hour,
I agree.
we vacated that whole side down.
I only need $2 million to go probably half the distance.
Raise the speed limit to 900, tracks.
So, that's true. That would help us out on the bypass, so everything, yeah. Okay, so there you go, that's the update. Any questions on the bypass update? Okay. Number 6, finance.
I got this, Stuart.
Thank you.
This is a resolution. Back last time we came in front of the council, there was a resolution to allow the city to participate in the buy board for the pumper. There was also a resolution to enter into a loan agreement, the mayor to enter into an agreement for a 5-year loan not to exceed dollar amount, a specific dollar amount, which we did not. And then you allowed a budget resolution to fund the $50,000 down payment. What you have here, even though we did not actually have the numbers, I knew the numbers and I presented them to you as to what the budget impact would be once we started making payments. This is a resolution which allows me to amend the budget for $5,658.77 in interest expense and to allow a line item for the principal payment of $36,315 to be adjusted with monies coming from the city subsidy tax fire fund. That was fully disclosed and it still leaves a surplus in the city subsidy tax fire fund after these expenses have been reported. So this is to make it official so I can make the adjustments.
Make a motion to pass this resolution.
Second.
Motion second to pass resolution.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coffee?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
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 Good. So,
Stay up here. And here we go another. In the past, when we would purchase trailers, the trailers were basically covered under a motor vehicle, and we were not paying sales tax on those. And when we went down to tag the trailer, we only paid the fee for the tag. Except now, when we went down to do the new trailer, that was, we did a budget resolution for the $30,000 trailer that street department needed for the paver. They hit us with this is not a motor vehicle, and it is under regulation now that we had to pay the sales tax. And the sales tax on that was $3,360.36. That has already been paid in order to get it tagged, in order to be able to make it functional and usable. This is a budget resolution in order to allow us to continue to increase or amend the budget for the street department capital expenditures by that amount, which will be capitalized along with the trailer. And the money's coming from city sales and tax refund.
This has already been paid.
It has already been paid in order to get the.
Charlotte's going to jail if we don't pass it.
No, you have a spending limit for the mayor. It's the mayor.
wow, that didn't take long.
I second Blake's
I
motion.
make a motion to pass it resolution.
The mayor's going to jail.
Mayor Charlotte.
I've got a question. What changed that all of a sudden we're paying taxes on?
Something happened.
Something changed in the DFA's regulations. They don't exempt trailers from cities. These are exempt from sales tax.
Right.
To tax per vehicle. Not exempt to tax normal in certain cases.
Is that, you say state or is that federal?
It's state.
So the knuckleheads down the.
Yep.
And so what we do now when we find
You're
a
gonna do
trailer
that
is
when
we
you
pay
get
the
done
sales tax on the property.
Well, we got our representatives down there.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I put it on the list.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Where's the second?
Mr. Powell.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Tom. Number 8, education and training policy discussion. We don't have anything in your packet to look at. This is just a subject that Charlotte and I have been discussing a little bit in regard to, I'm going to give you an example of what may not be the right example, but my son is a dentist in Seattle. He works for a Indian reservation. They are currently paying back, and believe me, I'm proud of it, they're paying back his tuition of almost $300,000. But in order to do that, he had to sign a contract saying he would stay with them. I think it's 5 years, I'm not sure. So we think it might be necessary for the city to at least consider something like that. I think there's been a couple of times that the city in the past has been burned, scorched a little bit. And we're not talking about training as the chief goes to, or anybody else that's just really just necessary. I mean, it needs to pertain to the job, obviously, but I think we should have some standards or some guidelines. I don't think we have anything necessarily in policy, correct?
The police department does, though.
They do. They're in there.
I think in our handbook it says, you know,
We got,
we'll pay for training, but how far do you want that to go? Do you want this, I mean, college tuition? Because we've twice now done that and lost the employees that we did it for. One of them didn't even complete the thing. Neither one of them.
Maybe somebody's calling.
I mean, thousands of dollars. Yeah, that's what I do.
To advance their skill set that's beyond what is
And so I'm
currently,
asking,
then you're investing in that employee. And so if you invest in the employee above what their normal job function would be in order to better them to a new position, then what he's saying is you need to guarantee a return on that investment.
agreed.
Can you write it up? Colin, you sound like you got a good grasp, but can you write it up in a resolution?
Sure.
And put,
shall we amend our personnel policy handbook by this resolution now? I think we should. I think it should be in our personnel policy handbook in the section about education, whatever. Or continuing it, whatever.
Bring us something, and let us look at it, and we can consider it.
Yeah, pass by resolution as amended.
I think it's definitely worth considering, for sure.
Sure.
Because we're wasting money.
We just kind of want to get on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Number 9, planning.
Mayor, Council, the item on the agenda is the ordinance to rezone planning commission for the golden year retirement from C2 to R2. This planning commission met on this and approved, I'll hold this for you. This is the area behind Health Depot here. We've got 5 lots going from Center Street down to the cul-de-sac. And this is the 5 lots behind, thank you, sir. From here to the 5, this is Health Depot here, and then this goes down 5 lots north on the Fleming Street.
and this already rezoned the back for Branson area.
Yes, yeah, they're all, everything in there is for multifamily living. And so that's what,
Tell me why the emergency clause?
so that they get started on the project. I mean, it's not a, anything that needs to go through 3 months. I mean, there's nobody, we posted it, we published it, everybody is in agreement with it. You know, the department heads agreed with it, and, you know, they would like to go ahead and get started on their project.
Make a motion to put this on for first reading by title only.
Okay. Motion second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Vice Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous. Ordinance amending ordinance number 18-09 for the purpose of rezoning certain property in the city of Greenwood and amending the official zoning map of the city of Greenwood, declaring an emergency and further.
Make a motion to amend the,
emergency.
He just signed it.
I'm just asking.
He almost talked.
I've read the bill that he's gone through a process. Go ahead. You can answer. Well,
Well, I mean, do we want to hold up the project? I mean, we got people that want to buy building permits and start on something that this is not, you know, with brain surgery. They want to start building duplexes and.
it's not like we're changing the residential R1 to something
And it
else.
went.
you don't want to say anything. That's what you're going to say.
I make a motion to waive the second, third reading.
Second.
What we're doing here has nothing to do with public peace.
I mean, I'm like this black and white guy, I probably get hung. I mean, I don't don't disagree with what Sonny said at all, and it's all for progress, and I want to get it done.
County said what they just said, because they wanted.
I just keep thinking, somebody's gonna walk in here one of these days and say, you did your buddies a favor over there.
We just have precedents.
Jump this thing to an emergency clause, and it's not an emergency.
We've pretty consistently done that though for the years. It'd be hard to look back and find someone we didn't do that.
Yeah, there's been a number of them probably should.
There's one of these reasons.
Well, I can see if we're going from an R1 to something like an R2 or a C2, but I mean, this is, it's already a commercial zone that you're just making it the multifamily.
A little bit more restrictive zoning.
Yes.
It's less restrictive than it is.
It was less,
Well, I think that commercial part.
it was less restrictive when Fort Brown put his picking marks out.
Really have tax dollars.
And now, it's multi-family. I agree with you, though, Daniel.
I was thrilled that businesses come in and be taxed.
I mean, if it's said, we are choosing to waive second, third reading because we want progress to happen faster than it has been happening, so therefore we're waiving, you know?
That's not an emergency.
That's not an emergency. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Just don't reinvent the wheel.
You're not gonna solve it.
Well, but do you have to have an emergency clause? I mean, if we waive first, second, third readings, then we're essentially passing it
It's-
without.
If you don't have the
30
emergency,
days.
Right.
back in 30 days.
So the motion presently is to waive second, and third readings.
If you did pass the emergency clause, it's effective immediately
Which is the next one.
That's the public.
upon publication.
So the first thing we're doing is we're just saying, we're not gonna wait 3 months.
And I have no problem with that. Waive the 3 readings, adopt the ordinance.
Well, we got to vote on that, I second.
We have a motion second to waive second, third reading, correct?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Understand is that?
Are we good?
Need a motion to
You-
We're going to make a motion to adopt the
ordinance.
ordinance. I'll second that motion.
Do you have it?
Did somebody make it?
We did.
We have a motion and a second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Yes.
They don't want the emergency clause, right?
That is? Yeah.
All right.
Next item is kind of the reverse. The planning commission approved to rezone 815 West Denver Street. Mr. Greenwood purchased the property. It is now zoned R1. He would like to zone it C2 because it's where, it's the lot next to Rex Driscoll's business that he had across from the tag office and monograms and more. You know, it leans itself more to commercial than it does residential. And so we would like to have that approved.
Make a motion to adopt, or put the ordinance on for first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion and second?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry? It's unanimous. An ordinance amending ordinance number 18-09 for the purpose of rezoning a certain property in the city of Greenwood and amending the official zoning map of the city of Greenwood to Greenwood for consent for approval.
Make a motion to suspend the rules and waive second, and third reading.
Second.
Motion and second?
Now, can we discuss before we vote? Is it too late for that?
Nope. You can discuss.
I know it's been posted down there, and I was wondering if any of the locals that live down there would have any complaints about this.
There has been 9 to 10, of course, I send out letters for everybody within 300 feet around there, and, you know, from even the church across the street and all that, businesses and residential, and nobody has come back with any issues on it.
It's just an empty lot.
The tax growth.
Now, this is the opposite. We're taking very restrictive zoning and making it very wide open. But I know where it's at.
I know what's going there.
it's commercial.
It's, yeah, it's about a
It's
commercial.
supposed to be commercial.
Approves that line. I have the same question about the emergency clause in this ordinance.
And I have a question about it as well. In the last ordinance that we did that too, Mr. Hammy, am I supposed to
Remove the emergency clause, correct?
remove the emergency portion of the section
Section 2 and then the
2?
title.
And then title, okay.
Motion second for waive the second, third reading.
Waive the document.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second. Have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry? Unanimous?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Removing it. Mine's probably, sir.
Back to you, sir.
Back, this resolution you have in front of you is to allow us to establish another bank account.
Did we just close 75?
Fortunately, when they went ahead and they did that, they aggressively closed, there's a restricted account called city sales and use tax, water, sewer, it's that 1%. It currently resides as an account, virtual account underneath general. And so general right now has $5.2 million in it, but $2.7 million of it is city sales and use tax, water, sewer restricted. And it's restricted for water sewer use. Legislative audit has an issue with that, and they would like us, rather than write us up for it, they would like us to take corrective action and move that out of general fund, so that's not included in there. And the recommendation, rather than make it a virtual account under sewer or water, under the water O&M, is that it maintain a separate account, an actual bank account, because the 1% sales tax comes electronically from the state, and it would drop right into that account rather than us having to move it around. So we're going to go ahead with this permission to establish the account at the local bank and begin the process of allowing the state to fund it directly electronically. So it goes directly into that account. You don't have to do any accounting.
What do we do with fire, police, and parks?
They're virtual.
They're virtual, but they're okay with that remaining virtual?
Yes, water sewer is not something that's audited under legislative.
Okay, that's true.
Water sewer is totally separate.
But should we do those accounts that way for the same reason?
I would recommend no.
Correction for you.
I recommend no. There's no reason to take them out of virtual. There is for this because it's funded separately, and that actual 1% comes as an electronic check.
And it's
drops
restricted
right.
as,
It's restricted.
that's not general purpose.
It's not general.
When the others are restricted and are in general.
We got a bidding process for which bank?
Bidding process, we were just gonna go with a check for this.
On that note, okay, so it would make sense logically or whatever that we would spread all of those between different banks, but when you're the person that has to make all the deposits, look at all the different.
You're not
banks.
getting any interest on it, and it's.
Not worth any.
Collateralization's the same as far as our collateralization is concerned, so really not a benefit to shop around a checking account. There is if you were gonna go with CDs or other investment opportunities,
Which we do,
which we will.
because we don't have to visit those banks all the time.
What bank are we opening up the account in?
Partners for all 8 of the other accounts. This will only be the 9th account,
This will be the 9th.
other than 40.
But yeah, we used to have 40. One.
Were they all at one bank?
One of them was a bank.
Make a motion to pass the resolution.
I say,
That motion and a second? Down there?
Who seconded it?
Right.
Mr. Roy.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Powell?
yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
Yes.
Lance Terry?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Thanks, sir. Number 12, resolution adopting Sebastian County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Sonny and I may have decided this morning between the two of us that this may be a little premature because we've not, you haven't heard from them, right? I mean, we're in the middle of doing our own plan, so I think I would ask to table this. I brought this in myself from Washington, so I want to ask. Thank you very much.
Brown.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Rowland.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Hooker. Jeremy.
Number 13 is a discussion for sidewalks for Highway 10 spur. I know none of you are aware of our need for sidewalks on Highway 10 spur, especially from the center, Greenwood Retirement Center, back to town, or vice versa. In the past, I think council asked to have engineering done through Hawkins and Weir on that project. We did. I don't know if I've fallen still in a coma or what, but I do not remember seeing those numbers. I'm not blaming anybody. I just thought I didn't remember seeing all that information. It was done.
Somebody brought it here.
Well, I think we've had it, but I don't remember no one on it. Okay. Well, I kind of woke up out of the fog today, I guess, but I got to thinking I haven't seen it, don't remember the numbers, and knew it was expensive. So I called Jeremy Shores from Hawkins and Weir, and he refreshed my memory that he had indeed done it, got it to the street department. The street department passed it on to Western Arkansas Planning and Development for application and for a tax grant. And if you probably remember then, the cost, it was a 3-phase project, and we just went ahead and had him go all the way to 71. And from Dr. Singer's at Denver Street to the center, retirement center, was approximately, I'm using kind of rough, about $582,000, excluding relocation of utilities, and the little section of sidewalk Casey's has got, and then another $500 and something thousand to Webster, no, that'd be to Walmart, Liberty, and then another 500 and something to 71.
Is that both sides of the road?
That was one side. So $1 million and, well, almost $1.75 million to get that far with the sidewalk. And again, not everything is included. So
When you talk about relocating utilities, I mean, I suppose there were, Casey's just went around the utilities.
they did, and we're assuming, and Sonny and I had a little discussion, they started that sidewalk out of the right of way, and then it went into the right of way, and it goes back out of the right of way. So that's their business. I'm glad they got it. We didn't have to permit it. I'm assuming they did, because they just, like we've said many times before, that's not their first rodeo. In fact, they're about to get one finished up on Rye Hill already as we're sitting here. But there is a section sidewalk that we're proud to have. I and Mr. Bell went out last week, just for kicks, a little bit, if you will, to visit with all those business owners, to say to them or to ask them. I didn't go into detail how much all that could cost if we went through the highway department to do it. And again, remember, putting the sidewalk on the highway easement is indeed that. You're a few feet from the highway. Of course, that's filling in all the ditches. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. That's what it costs. So we went to the property owners to question them and see what they thought about going over on their property, private property, and doing the exact same thing and not having to go through all that process. The street department, clear and grub, as we have at other sidewalks right here on Bell Road. We hire the local business or local concrete guys to go in and pour it and finish it, and we do the exact same thing but on private property. We did not get a no at all. We weren't able to visit with, like, Yeager's, for instance. I mean, I know that's a Mr. Yeager answer, not James. But everybody else was very shaking their heads. That makes sense. We probably wouldn't have a problem with it. I told them that we, the city, would be coming back to them with a proposal and get an easement, seek an easement for every property owner, as we did when we were building trails. And they were all, again, don't have everybody's thumbs up, but pretty close. And I think we can do this, obviously, much cheaper than $500,000.
But there's some places like Yeager's,
You don't need to sign, exactly. And Sonny went back to his office and measured, if you will, and because of parking lots, in a couple of places that you can't, parking lots and driveways, it's about 1,100 feet from the corner of Denver to that center out there, Greenwood Retirement Center.
$7.50 a foot is what we figured.
Is that what you got today finally? We looked at concrete, we talked to
Doesn't
Nathan.
count labor, that's just concrete.
So,
$150 a yard.
yeah, I think we figured
Put
$112.
your bridge over there by
The only-
Fiesta, you have it all the way in.
Well, and it's a pretty clear shot all the way to the center, except for when you get to O'Reilly's, you've got quite an elevation drop to the house right beside it. And that would require, it's an open ditch, it would require obviously ADA handicap accessible bridge, but it's not like going across something, it's like fixing it that way. But even from there to the center, it's a clean shot. And one, it would, as Don Keys used to say, I fondly remember, it was sci-foggle and cattywampus down through there, which kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. So with your blessing and with permission, we're going to pursue that. And we don't have it in the budget. There's approximately $90,000 in the sidewalk fund as it stands right now. I think that could be 92 or so at the end of the year, I think, estimated.
97.
Pardon?
97.
97. So with your permission and blessing, we're going to pursue that. And we'll continue to work with, or go to the property owners, get with Mr. Hamby. I think it would be, is it as easy or simple as we did on a trail easement? You get the property, what do I need to do? I mean, does every piece of property need a deed?
I'm gonna have to do an engineer giving me a lead description.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna have to search the title record to make sure
It
everybody
fits.
is from the appropriate owner.
Right.
Because sometimes you may have a Joe Blow that lives there, but it's in the Joe Blow trust. And
Same thing that we went through in trails,
Right.
easements.
You gotta make sure that the easement comes from the right legal entity, and the only way to do that is a title search. In order to do a title search, I have to have a legal.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, just because I'm on the come down. Do we have to have an easement? If we had authorization,
From the property.
just say our church,
In your churches.
and we said, sure, help yourself, build a sidewalk,
Yeah.
fix it up nice.
You don't have to have an easement to do that.
Not at all.
Not at all, but if you.
I mean, if something happens,
Change
something happens.
ownership, and they decide they don't want to do it, they can go jack it out.
Well, it's like with the Casey's deal, they don't care if they want to come there with a right of way and have to move that, they'll jackhammer it up and move the utilities a day later.
They always.
No, the Casey's will do it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a, you know,
But they know it's not gonna happen for a long time, so they just go around and not worry about spending that money right now.
most of the places that you're talking about are pretty well established, I mean, nothing's done.
There's
I
two
mean, the
places.
place between Sonic and Rush's old
Right,
house.
right.
I hope to God somebody tears it down
That'd
and
be
build something nice. But if there's a sidewalk, it'd probably be somebody built something nice and there'd be a sidewalk.
And if somebody does come in and build something later, and we've already built a sidewalk there, and they would be the ones to pay for that sidewalk, we still can charge them for.
You can look up and get this and start over as if that's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
there.
let's say that, you know.
Our new regulations would require you to build a sidewalk.
Well, that's what I'm saying, let's say Chick-fil-A comes in there between Sonic and Ace and says, we're gonna build some, don't start a rumor. Chick-fil-A, well, they put in a sidewalk just the way Casey's did. If we already had a sidewalk there, well, then we paid for a sidewalk that Chick-fil-A was gonna pay for, we ought to be able to recoup that some way.
Well, they're,
As
And
business.
they'd probably tear the whole thing.
they're gonna come out with a gigantic
Yeah.
lace it all off.
Spend the tax dollars on property we don't own.
They're gonna build the
Well, that's
sidewalk,
why.
They're still gonna have to rebuild
and
the
they're
sidewalk.
still gonna pay the sidewalk fee.
Yeah.
I mean, is that,
That's a fair statement.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, how are we gonna justify spending tax dollars on property we don't own?
Very good assessment.
Without the easement.
Without, I mean, because of various stuff like Doc's talking about. right?
Well, there's two.
Because if one of those places sold and I decide I'll tear the sidewalk out, it's my property, you know what I'm saying? We don't have no way to put our teeth in it because we don't have that easement.
Well, that's what they're saying though, but if it's somebody that comes in to build, whether it's Chick-fil-A or Rom's, let's start a couple of rumors.
Yeah.
Or Western Sizzling or somebody, they're not gonna be able to build around our sidewalk. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. If that's not out and start over.
I mean, they're gonna have to.
So then they're back to saying, we're in the same, I think, we're in the same boat as saying, okay, now you either pay and move up or you build one back.
Right.
Yes, the waste of it, I don't guess it's really waste at the end of the day, because you get paid
Well,
back.
I'm just saying, though, that if we don't have the easement, I mean, you really.
I mean, I like having the easement, I went through that before.
I mean, I was just trying to be cheap.
On the.
Right, I understand, I'm just saying, I mean.
I'm not saying it's a good idea, I'm just being cheap.
Well,
Well, I mean, Lance has got a good point. We go out and do all this, some citizen out there is gonna say, you're improving private
I
property,
think
I'm
I'll-
suing you. And then,
been there, done that.
then Mike's gonna say, we need to settle.
There are two pieces of property that we know of, well, I say we know, what used to be, is where the vendor truck sits now, the blank, no, it is next to it.
Both of them.
Well, both of them, but the gentleman, the couple that's in the house who used to belong to Driscoll, I believe, they're using that as an office, and he hinted to us that there could be somebody interested in buying both of those lots for future development, correct? Right? So there's a couple of lots that might be just what you're talking about, that we would build it and then they would come along and,
I say go with it. Find out how to do it.
but I think the easement's the right thing to
The
go.
real challenge, Mayor, is to figure out how to get your bridge across the creek.
Oh, we're doing a bridge. That's
Number one is.
That's going to the lake, I know where one is.
Say, go do it, but do it legally.
Do it
Okay,
on both sides of the road.
so you like the idea?
Both sides of the road.
I agree with
Both sides of
Lee.
the road.
I agree with Lee.
No, really, because look, if one of the things we're trying to prevent are folks crossing the road to get to Jules Baker, to get to the mansion in the morning, then if we're gonna go out there and say, look, you can't do this, you're jaywalking, they need to know that, okay, the right path is walk down to the light of Denver, cross the road, walk back down the sidewalk, but if we don't give them a sidewalk on both sides, we're not fixing that.
Well, I agree.
There's no way anybody in that place
Investigate.
is walking all the way down the.
I know
Well, but then we could say, you know, we're gonna find you for jaywalking every time we find you out here. Because you're resisting.
Do it right now.
Well, you could, but it's a little harder now since they're like, how to get there.
By the way, you can buy permission.
Walk down the shoulder to the,
Build on around.
they can walk down the shoulder to the crosswalk, go down, walk down the shoulder, just like we're living inside.
Well, there may not be a stop sign, you can still have, maybe have a crosswalk there at Ulmer and things.
I agree, you can put one there.
And, you know, even though it's not regulated by a stoplight, but still could be certain places where they could cross.
I do know, just because there's a sidewalk, does not mean that there actually, everybody can use that sidewalk. But at least we've done our due diligence.
Is the sidewalk that you do a universal 4 feet or 3 feet or what?
Sir, 5 foot,
5 foot?
4 inches thick, 5 foot wide.
So it could be a bike trail.
Mayor, I agree with Lee. And don't let the project get so big that you don't do anything.
I agree.
100 feet's better than nothing.
Sonny and I have already agreed that if I get to do nothing but in front of Dr. Singer's, which is about 8 feet,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
we're
Start connecting the
we're
dots.
gonna get started. Okay. Very good, that's what I have on that. Department reports and questions from council.
I have a question. Carlos, we're doing the reports, our reports. I have I've had some complaints about sanitation, like trash not being picked up or off cycle or whatever.
What was,
Is that a question?
Yes.
what was the comment about?
Your
It's
trash.
about-
Yeah, that's
Trash.
boogie. The only thing worse than people in your ward calling you complaining about why the trash is out there is people in your ward that live in your house with you. And my wife finally blew a gasket and called up there. And I'm thinking, okay, their place is burned to the ground down there, but I'm not really sympathetic, I don't care. I want to know why my trash, and that's like, did the fire start Friday? Because it did, and my trash stood, and she said, well, I'm not really sure what happened. There was a problem with, maybe there's a new driver, I don't know, we're getting to the bottom of it.
To her though, were they rude?
That, she was very cordial, no, she was not rude.
Okay. They've been rude.
But they happened last week as well, but they came Saturday and at least got it last week, up in, at least in Lake Hills edition, I don't know about the rest of town. But, yeah, and I think I'm fixing to get a ticket, because there's an ordinance that I can't have my trash on my curb more than 24 hours, I've been out there for 48 now, so I was worried about the code guy coming in.
I heard some complaints over the metal bridge.
I don't know that
It's
we,
all over town.
yeah, I don't know that we have a reason for you. I mean, I know that
It could be,
people that
it
call
could
it.
be one neighbor that is skipped or the whole entire neighborhood.
Couple of.
Well, when there's a holiday, I guess,
What is the response you're getting from outside?
Well, if they call me, then I tell them, I give them the number, but I also tell them, if they don't come and get it pronto, then call me back and I will call them. Because I want the citizen to call, because if they don't get on it for a citizen and they call me back and I have to call them, then they get kind of risky.
So I'm just,
she told my wife she they'd fielded 3 or 4 calls today. She apologized. She wasn't sure what the deal was, why there wasn't picked up. Maybe there's a new driver. She said wasn't sure. And I'm sure she probably knows, but she's not going to say where it probably was. So.
Well, they've been telling citizens that, oh, you probably didn't have it out in time.
That wasn't what she said today.
Well, yeah, some of these little old ladies get it out the night before.
Right.
You know, it's out there to crack it on, blah, 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 and I've addressed that with them, and they, well, hey, so-and-so, and they're talking back and forth, and put me on hold, and then come back, and, well, we're really not sure. I said, well, we need to pick that, you know. And I mean, we shouldn't have to do,
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if mine's not picked up next Friday, we're going to start the ball rolling. I'll take full spearhead to get rid of the jars.
I'm ready to get rid of it.
A couple of weeks ago,
We need a plan.
a couple to 3 weeks ago,
If they go 3 weeks in a row, we'll have my trash picked on Friday, then I'll personally put the wheels in motion. The plan is to get rid of it, do whatever.
you asked about
Hey,
that.
I was a garbage law.
Well,
Half a day, we got fired.
yeah.
Because we did stats.
Well, look, you're right, Ron.
A couple of weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, the biggest excuse that Altus had was that they had drivers quit because of the heat, and they probably did, and they got hired, and that was their excuse, just to pass that on. I don't know how well that works. I personally, and this is not about service as much, but I know Stuart and I were out the other day, and we got behind one of the trucks, and neither one of the throwers were properly attired as our contract required, whether it's a shirt, t-shirt, or a fluorescent. So I stopped and reminded them who I was, like they cared, and told them that they need to not pursue or continue their route without.
But now they're going to say, well, our recycle center has burned
Yes,
to the
the
ground.
Smurfit burning up.
So now they're not going to pick up people to recycle. So that's going to be the next call that comes up to the office. So I mean,
Do, in our agreement, I'm in the agreement. Is there steps for, I mean, I don't remember what, if there's complaints, you know, if there was complaints, they are supposed to handle it.
they're supposed to.
And remedy the situation, but I don't remember the escalation of that.
It really doesn't.
What I'm getting at is, if we set them down and say, we're terminating this agreement because you are terminating, are they, I just want to go back through it and,
We looked at it once before, and I think 30, July, 30 days, I'm sure.
I mean, we don't have to have calls, but either part of it, right? But we need a plan.
Yes, better have something ready.
We're all going to be picking up trash.
Here's another complaint, 4th of July. We're supposed to have a roll-off dumpster, a huge one. Nathan here calls a month or two before, they said, oh, call us back the week of, call us back. Well, they didn't show up with one, they showed up with 2 tiny ones, which,
Overflowing by now.
yeah, I mean, overflowing.
They didn't hold up.
So they didn't hold up to that agreement, so I'm saying check them off the list. Next.
Tammy, I know we're getting complaints, but are we gonna get more complaints when we get better service and everything goes up?
I've thought of that too.
Everybody's cost of trash service is gonna go up $3 or $4.
Not necessarily.
Will we
Oh,
get
yeah.
more or less?
Well, if the city takes over, we'll let that know.
Yeah,
We've already looked at those numbers, and it was pretty close, maybe more.
There was $3
There's no possible way.
It was gonna go up.
Yeah,
They are doing it.
they're way under.
I mean,
They're doing it dirt cheap, and we're kind of getting what we pay for.
Even the consultant came and said, you can do it for $13 to $16. We can do it for $11.97. but right now they're paying $9.40 plus $1.
Well, they were grossly under everybody else.
I mean, we put it back out for bid.
If we put it back out for bid, we're gonna be right back to Tom's numbers.
It's gonna be expensive.
That's what he said.
I think we need to pursue our own thing.
I'm not against that, I just think, you know, we kind of get what you're saying.
I'm not against it either, I'm just stating that it's gonna cost more.
To
You know,
make
we're gonna
money,
get
let's
complaints.
You're not going to complain out of me because it's going to be great. I hope that it will be great. I mean, everybody has problems, but this is just a constant burr in everybody's saddle. I mean, even when Casey's called to ask me who we use as a city for sanitation, I told them we use Altus, but do not call them.
I guess you're
Because they are not. And I said, I mean, you need, there's other people you can call, there's MSG, there's Inland Container. And he laughed and said, well, our store over Van Buren uses Inland, and I noticed today that's who they use here.
I guess the burden would shift if we put it all out. You would get less complaints and we'd get a whole lot more.
Well, I don't know about that, I mean, maybe.
Well, I think there's some sense to thinking that people that are so frustrated, and that's a lot of people
They
that
are.
wouldn't mind paying some more. It depends on how much it is. And you
Depends on
know,
how bad the service is.
and how bad the service is.
So I will remind y'all of this conversation.
And they can't get it after more money.
We need to sit down and decide that, are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? And one of our hang-ups about that, one of the discussions we've had in the last month was who's going to be in charge. There's back to this conversation of the public works, what do we call it? Who's going to handle the limb pickup? That's got to get out of the street department. That's not a street department function. We need to sit down and decide, or the mayor needs to sit down to tell us what he's decided of how are we going to structure the personnel? Are we going to hire a the street department director? Are we going to have a foreman in the street department and a public works director? I don't care what you call them, director of operations, whatever. But, you know, as soon as we can figure that out, get the numbers to it, then we can make a decision, but
On the other side of that,
is not going to improve itself, and we're gonna wind up with nobody.
well, but on the other side of that, I mean, we've just been presented a kind of a variable. I don't really know what the cost is on this, health catchment area. You know, I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know if that's gonna be an additional cost that's gonna hit us there too. And so, I think that has to go into the picture now for consideration as far as the budget.
If it makes it.
Well, yeah, it makes it, which I think we're already there. It's a matter of just.
Well, I can't see justifying any of that for 3 or 4 people a year. I mean, I just, I think the trash will be something that we get into, if it goes up a couple bucks, and
Yeah,
we can make it fund itself, we can control it.
I just can't see how we would make money off that. I miss it.
Well, even your consultant said you do not make money on residential. You make it on commercial, and you can't go force them to change and void their contracts that they currently already have. You have to stage it in, which means your profitability is gonna come later down the road.
Was there a meeting I missed to consult?
You must have, because he was here for the Arkansas.
You wasn't here.
Oh, we would?
Yeah, I
I
think
had
that's-
to.
Yeah, you
I
know,
I hate that I missed that.
Okay, it was
The guy from True.
You can go online, won't you?
And I'm not sure who told me this, but somebody said that they had heard that Alphas might even be
financially.
on their way out. And then, as I was in Nebraska this weekend and heard about the fire, I'm like, oh, well, just saying. So we could be without, and there would be, so somebody's gonna have to be picking up garbage and.
We're not gonna do it anyway.
Right, and we could do more like this.
Hey,
How about we,
I was contacted by the consultant in the last week or two who said he had inroads to equipment, lease, blah, 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 and I said, okay, I'll let Tom know.
well, how about we do this? How about Tom and I and whoever, Dennis, who just chomping at the bit to be in the trash business, to formulate a plan, maybe a variation of a couple of plans. I think, and we've done that a little bit, but I think it sounds like you're ready to really look at something serious. Come back with you with, okay, here's the way this could work. Here are the people in charge of it. And here's not just the fact that we're not just throwing something out there. We're going up $2 or $3 per household for your trash pickup, but we got to throw in. And you had all that. You had the people in there too. So you've got pretty much everything they need to look at again. And it seems like it's keeps coming to the top more often. So, and if Mr. Hamby has said, maybe we'll all look at the contract one more time, but I agree. I think it's pretty plain, 30 days for either party, and you're done. But we can't tell them 30 days tomorrow and not have a plan. Otherwise, we'll be using that $30,000 trailer to pick up the trash, which I guess we can, but.
Well, we just, I mean, yeah, that's, we're gonna have to rebid it somehow. Yeah, tell them that 30 days we're gonna be rebid.
And he had a pretty good, I say, Tom, we talked about putting it out for bid and Greenwood just being a bidder in the market. Does that make sense? Can we do that?
Realize the city can do it cheaper.
Just refuse bid and say we're good to go with it or something.
Right.
You're right.
Okay, yeah. Sounds reasonable? Yeah. Okay. Okay,
Yeah, I got one thing I just wanted to bring up before we go home. Hey Nathan, you might come up here, I don't know if y'all been, he's done some stuff with the Free Press. I just want y'all to, he did an impact deal from the Arkansas Parks and Tourism deal from the A&P, the money is spent, but I wanted him to tell you guys kind of what the impact was on that day, just so you know where the money is, that money that we have, a little bit of money that we invest in there with the fireworks and the extra 5,000 we give them and stuff, that what it's done in a one-day deal, it's just some numbers he got put together, and that way you kind of know that it's not a fly-by-night deal, so if you don't mind to kind of explain.
We did 3 head counts, basically 2 staff at random times throughout the day as required. I went through the Parks and Tourism and said, hey, how do we do this? Because we don't have turnstiles, we don't know. So basically, we did those 3 at the time, and then had 2 drone shots that kind of helped us out to kind of see how close we were. We had about a 10% margin of error. Through their calculations, it was 10,000 plus people. These are all conservative. And I'm like doing them conservative. So you had your 10,000 people. Based on that, you got, I think it was 3.5 visitors, per family, per household that came in. These are total visitors to 10,000. So some people came 2 or 3 times, because there's good segments throughout the day. Your physical impact is around $130,000 for a one-day event, which is, really good. And one thing today, just looking, Tom, the city sales and use tax for July is up 5%.
It's up 8.7% and 5%.
Also the highest month we've ever had.
Also the highest you've had in the last 5 years.
That's for the prior, what's been turned in the prior.
This is, that's July.
Right.
July.
Year over year, 8%?
Your city sales and use tax year amount is 5%. About 5% for the year.
But for the month.
Just for the month of July,
8%.
which we received in the month of July. June is at 8.7. We have, in August, we'll get July.
not bad for your first party.
That's right.
Well,
So it's trending
that
that way.
that will be next month.
Yeah, it'll
Because
show.
what I'm saying is, what he's referring to, that's actually June.
Yeah, that's June.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that's where we want to gauge it at. See, because July's our big vacation month.
So next month, we'll see it.
That's right. So we've got.
County sales tax went up too.
Right.
We've actually experienced the best month we've had in 5 years.
Well, I just want you guys to say what they, I mean,
Well,
Tom said the best, sometimes you guys spend money to make money, and I just want you to see that we're getting a decent return back on what money we're investing into that. so-called party people call it, but it's, I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger every year, so I just want them to, you know, so y'all.
I think too, I mean, it's worth noting that, you know, with one restaurant being out, you know, I mean, you know, Lonsdale's was out, you know, Mary's not open yet, and then Casey's is not open yet too, so I think, you know, next year, yeah, they may be even more found in there.
Right, so and that's one thing from the tourism standpoint, that's why that number from June is kind of important, because it gives us a, hey, where are we at compared to last month, because that's when people go out really and try and cram in a vacation. You know, that's one thing on the money that we're spending operational, we want returns. You know, whether it be a project or anything like that, touching base, we do have a pre-bid project tomorrow morning, or pre-bid meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the lake, at the boat ramp, because that way we can earn. I hate having contractors sign it and ask questions that should have been asked face to face, so we do have that tomorrow at 10 a.m. just to let you guys know, so that's for the trail.
Mm-hmm. Like the south side.
So,
And where does it end?
it will, on the project, it'll go all the way almost to the, I guess it's about 2.1 miles out toward the, I guess it'll be the loop on the south side. It'll complete the south side loop, and then it'll pave the boat ramp, and projectedly a restroom out there as well is in the plan, so, but that's,
Thanks, parking.
right, that's right, yeah, so. Anyway, but yeah, that was the return that we kind of had, you know.
This is pre-bid?
This is pre-bid tomorrow, so I think we have 5 already interested in attending, that'll be attending.
Who are they?
Don't know. Okay. Let John handle that, and we'll just be there as all that, but, other than that, that's
In the pre-bid, what's the start date?
the pre-bid on the,
Well, in pre-bid, they'll announce the start date.
well, the pre-bid, this is just if you're gonna bid on the project, you've gotta be there. Pre-con meeting won't be till, you know, obviously till the bids are done. Like that's the 21st.
In the pre-bid, they announce, this is when the project starts, this is when the expected completion is.
Well, see, we had, from a legal standpoint, you want to get, I mean, we won't have the date till August 21st. I mean, till they can submit bids, and then from there, we've got to line it up with the next council meeting to open bids. And then from there, we'll announce the bid. If we don't want to have a contractor that says, hey, I can bid this, here's the thing, but I've got another project I have to finish up. I've rented that before, where I'm okay with giving them enough time to finish that up as long as they're on schedule. So I wouldn't feel comfortable giving you an exact shovel in the ground date right now because there's so many unknowns. I mean, I would like to say October 1. I mean, honestly, I think that's conservative. I feel good about it, but I don't know, you know, variables that the contractors that are bidding have, to be honest.
I don't have the luxury, when I bid something, they just say, this project starts November 1.
Right.
And then I decide whether I've got time November 1 or
Right.
wherever.
Now, it'll be 30 days. I mean, you have to do 30 days upon awarding the contract, they'll have to start.
Okay.
So that helps, that.
Okay, 30
Yeah.
days after it lets out for the bid,
Right.
and the bids are accepted, and you have to start for
Exactly.
30 days. Okay.
So that'll line up with the council meeting for that month, so then we'll open and then grant an award. And that's what I got, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, you bet.
Thank you. Nathan, real quick, I think Tammy sent out an email to the councilman, I believe, in the Economic Development Committee, and anybody that is interested in coming. I think Dustin's going to try to be here. Access Smarter Solutions, Stronger Communities. This is Thursday, 4 o'clock. So if anybody can come, isn't it Thursday? Yes, Thursday at 4. No, Wednesday at 4. So this access, it's similar to what we did with the Central Arkansas, a little bit similar, quite a bit similar. It's free. So anytime anybody shows up and talks to me about economic development and it's free, we're gonna invite them in and there's a survey that we'll be sending out. I mean, eventually down the road, they could want to charge something, but it's good, I think it's good information to obtain. And then Friday, it's just a little meeting. I've got people coming in from the same type of thing, economic development type of thing with Arkansas. Actually, this one's with Arkansas Economic Development Institute. The other one's the one that the governor sponsors. So we're going to touch base with those folks Friday too. So we're just going to keep inviting these people in, give us information. It's a grading system. They come in and look at your city. Here's what you're doing right, here's what you're doing wrong, and then maybe a mailer to go out to ask people what they think. So,
Just take them back to a big empty factory.
yes. We're working on it. Now, can't say a whole lot. Yes, sir.
Can I do one more?
Sure.
Next Wednesday and Thursday, right here at City Hall from 12:30 to 6, will be the Guns and Roses Blood Drive. So please come, give a pint. Actually, it's called, what is it, Boots and Badges this year.
Boots and badges.
Yeah, 12:30 to 6, Wednesday and
I
Thursday.
think the police won this thing for like the last 5 years.
Fire one last year.
Firefighters won last year.
I just thought that's sort of something.
ArkansasBloodInstitute.org. Get online and schedule your appointment.
And we are known to do really well with those.
Yeah, we've done over 100 the last 3 years, so yeah, it's a good drive.
Okay, anything else from council?
Whoa, where we at? I missed the question from council part. I fall asleep?
Wow.
Well, I just got a pet peeve, and unfortunately Dennis is taking over as interim guy.
Okay.
Stoplight. I don't, and luckily for him, I don't have his number, but I feel bad calling Simon all the time still, because he don't care anymore. But my normal work hours are 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And right now, I'm working like 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so at 4 a.m., that means I gotta leave my house about 3:30. And that means at 3:30, there's like one car on this beautiful stretch of highway through my hometown. And guess how many stoplights I stop at every single morning? Actually, guess how many stoplights are red when I come to them? Because I do not stop. And so, and I will not stop with nobody else on the road anywhere in this tri-county region. So I don't know, and I mean, give me the key to the deal and I will go in there and figure out how to make them things work.
I have the same pet peeve.
Yes, sir. I feel more complaints about those stoplights, and even in the middle of the day. Like the one at Denver Street, you'll pull up there and it will be green for Denver, no one else on the road with me. They'll go red, and I'm fixing to go, and the turn arrow will come on. And so I have to stop in the middle of the intersection and wait about 10 seconds, and look up there and I can see it go to yellow arrow, and then finally green, and then I get to go. And it's ridiculous. I don't know who put them in. I know I wasn't for any of it. I don't care if they ever work again. Just short me blowing them up and blasting them out.
Got Thursday.
Dennis, don't we have the camera, don't we have?
I take this to heart. I can't stand it.
Okay, it says down here, we have pulled wires for upcoming cameras.
Ooh, cameras, all right.
So,
I saw them pulling wire.
Yeah.
I'm vouch for that.
Yeah, but that person run the green arrow randomly for months.
I'm protecting the one out of the road and the one that's Main Street.
Yeah, here, now, I'll be taking that thing out, that's the main problem in the mornings. That light at Main Street.
We should donate them to Main Street.
Hey, make the square roundabout, it's fixed.
Couldn't do it around.
No, I'm just telling you, man, fix it.
A lot of these growing cities, that's what most growing cities are doing, they're taking their stoplights out. I'm sorry.
Conway, I sent you an article.
They have quite a few down there.
Well, a place on the roundabout, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you gotta have a place to do
Make
that.
that square roundabout in McCarthy.
It wouldn't really be feasible there,
I
but
think the business, I appreciate that.
anyway, whatever you do, I appreciate it. Thank you.
But on state house,
I was just sending my citations to you, but I know they're gonna get me. The guy says it's bank for South of
when are the cameras
That's why
coming?
my name's on my tags, they know it's me, I'm going around.
when I say the wires, we're pulling the wires, have a truck, pulling one, we're gonna have to take a loop out, pull it through. They'll put the brackets up, the cameras, and the guy that is gonna come and help us is on vacation this week. So, we're shortly.
Now, just for full disclosure, I've been in a full-blown online sparring contest with the Arkansas Highway Department on those useless stoplights up there, I-49 and 71. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for those.
Those were, like I said, politically.
Oh, it's horrible. And every time their response to me is, you need to talk to the city about that.
You're
I
not
don't know what
supposed to
city,
have
G.
that.
Lynn? I don't know what city it'll be about.
That's what it's about.
If we don't get funding from the state of Arkansas, the highway department's gonna pay us off torch. You have a wreck there every night.
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Larry, have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion and a second. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Last time you got it. I see.
I'm only running late. I'm not trying to stop. I'll tell you what, it's over 30 stoplights.
You need to get your light.
I'll watch flash my right, I'll leave my house flash.
Well,